The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
My name is Joseph Citro, and I am the chair of the Community Redevelopment Agency for the City of Tampa, held on this day, the 14th day of April 2022, and I will thank you for your attention. Who is giving us the invocation? Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor and pleasure this morning to welcome Pastor Kerry Nance. He's been a Tampa Police Chaplain since 2005, married to his wife for now almost 29 years, coming up this October with 3 wonderful children. It's my honor to welcome the pastor to give the invocation. If we could all please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, sir.
Let's pray. Our Father, we're thankful to be here today, and we want to just thank you for the city of Tampa, and we thank you for the leadership that you have provided. And Lord, we just want to thank you for the safety. Lord, we know of so many atrocities and problems around the country, and Lord, we're just thankful for your blessing and your hand upon us. And Lord, as we come to this day, God, I would ask that you would bless and help our leadership, that you would give them the wisdom, Lord, that they need. Be with the city council as they overlook so many areas and make decisions and give direction. Be with their helpers, their aides, Lord, as they're trying to help them. And Lord, I just pray that your grace and your wisdom would be upon them. I pray that you would be with our police department, that you would overshadow those men and women as they stand on the front lines in our fire and rescue. I pray for our mayor, that you would have your hand upon her and that you would give her wisdom as well. And Lord, we do ask for our city that you would give us special grace, that you would give us direction. And Father, as we come upon this session, may your presence be here. May you direct in everything that we do. And Lord, as we come upon this weekend, we can't help but think of your grace upon us. And we thank you, Lord. I know so many churches in Tampa Bay will be celebrating the fact that Jesus Christ came and that he died for our sins. And Lord, as we look to Sunday and think of that resurrection and the hope that you offer, we thank you for that. And Lord, we pray your blessing in all that's done here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Miranda.
Here.
Goods.
Here.
Hurtak.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Vieira.
Here.
Carlson. And Cedro.
I am here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. Mr. Massey.
Good morning. Members of the CRA board, this is the time for public comment. Generally, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public can either attend the meeting in person here in City Council chambers located on the 3rd floor of Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, or may virtually participate in this public meeting by using what is commonly referred to by the state of Florida statutes and rules of communications media technology. However, if they're going to take advantage of communications media technology or CMT, they must pre-register. The instructions were in the notice of that meeting, and those are the general rules for public for the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Van Loan, do we have any changes to our agenda?
Good morning, Chair, CRA Board members, Michelle Van Loan, Community Redevelopment Department. Yes, we're requesting that item number 12 be postponed to the May 12th CRA Board meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
What is this for item 12?
Item 12.
To be continued?
Yes.
It is the appointment of CAC members to Channel District. There were a couple of applicants that submitted it that it was not included, and we want to get all of them the opportunity to be included in the vote by the CRA Board for those appointments.
I want to make sure that the applicants vote on it. If they haven't been notified, they're notified now.
Everyone has been notified.
And before you take the vote real quickly, if I could get a motion for you all to waive your normal rules to allow
So
CMT
moved.
participation.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Excuse me. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
So we have a motion to
Continue item number 12 to the May CRA meeting.
have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries. And Ms. Van Loan, I believe I have a note here for a revised memo on number 15.
This is, we continue.
Okay, we'll get to that when we get to it. Thank you. All right, we will start with public comment. I believe we already have our first speaker standing there. If everybody that wishes to speak during our public comment could please form a line over to my left, your right, and we will start with our first public comment speaker.
Good morning, Councilman. Good morning, Chair Citro. Thanks for your time. My name is Taylor Ralph, 401 East Jackson Street. Item 14 today is an appointment of Downtown CRA Community Advisory Committee appointees. Later today, you'll hear from Sean Barrow-Eden, who is a consultant with my firm, Real Building Consultants. I just want to make sure that you understand who he is. He is a young kid who went to school here at the University of South Florida, studied his master's in urban and regional planning, has been working at Real Building Consultants doing sustainability and resiliency consulting for very large projects throughout the downtown Channel District, Water Street, university work, as well as a lot of community work, including piloting the Parklet program. Actually, he was one of the first ones of recent to do the Parklets that the Tampa Downtown Partnership then eventually rolled out throughout downtown. He also works in the community garden at Sulphur Springs and helped design and develop that with the YMCA. He's an outstanding candidate, hardworking, passionate, understands the issues of downtown areas and building sustainable cities. And I hope that you'll consider Sean Barrow-Eden for his appointment to the Community Advisory Committee for the Downtown CRA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ruff. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Bob Whitmore. I'm the Executive Director of City Tree, a Citizens Action Group. We've heard a lot about oligarchies over the last few months, but it may surprise you that they aren't just a Russian phenomenon. The definition of oligarchy, according to Mr. Webster, is a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence. They work best in an autocracy. That way you only have one person to influence. In a strong republic or healthy democracy, oligarchs don't do so good. Too many people to persuade, too big a risk. You'll bump into someone who puts principles before profit. John Dingfelder was one of those men. There are those who say John Dingfelder got what he deserved, that somehow he brought his troubles upon himself. In a way, they are right. But not by doing anything wrong, but by doing things right. By asking the hard questions, by putting his position and privilege on the line every day, standing up to those who would take natural beauty and neighborhood integrity away from the people of this city for the sake of personal profit and gain, with little thought given to the people of Tampa. We'll never really know what happened to John because of the gag order. But the one thing we do know in our gut and in our hearts is what happened was wrong and is a threat to democracy. Because of this, we, the people, have started a GoFundMe to help John pay his legal fees. You can give at GoFundMe/Dingfelder-Defense-Fund. I'll say it again. GoFundMe/Dingfelder/Defense-Fund. We've already raised over $20,000 of a $65,000 goal over the last 23 days. We'll keep going until John's bills are paid. Because while he knew there was a price to be paid for fighting the oligarchs, part of that price shouldn't be $65,000 of his own money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Whitmore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
She has some information that she was going to hand out to each of you city councilmen.
Ms. Michelle?
If
It's behind you on the desk.
Yes, could you please hand that?
Okay, Mr. Adams, please go ahead.
All right. My name is Eddie Adams Jr., and I rise this morning to make you aware of a disservice that the city council has done to the black community, probably since the black community has been here. The fact that you have literally overlooked the community and disrespected the community. What you have before you is a financial assessment. So if I ask you how much money do the city of Tampa spend with black businesses in the Tampa Bay area, you would find that it's less than 2% of your annual budget is spent with black businesses, which pretty much makes you as a city council not return nearly as much of the taxes to the black community as you take. So if the black community is 25% of your community, 25% of the taxes you take in, but you return less than 2% to that community, that means you're pretty much doing what this nation was started on, taxation without representation. You're not spending money back. That means you're not creating black millionaires and billionaires who should be getting a percentage of the money back to the community that they pay in taxes. In this community, you have some good players. The airport has minority spend requirements on every contract they issue. Tampa General, which is the information you have in front of you. Moffitt spent millions of dollars last year with the black community. And the city of Tampa, if you're not looking for it, you don't find it. So usually when reports like this are given, you usually say, well, we don't know. So I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to continue to ask you to find out how much money the city of Tampa actually spends with black businesses. I'm not concerned about minorities, because what you do is you say, well, we spend so much with white women, and that's the largest population in this country, but somehow for financial spending and reports, they become a minority. So I'm more concerned about how much, I mean, you may say, well, we can't say how much we spend with the black community, but you definitely can do the numbers. You can run the numbers, find out, because what you're actually doing, you're making it such that whatever number of dollars would have went to this community, they don't get, because you don't spend with the black community. I mean, the 2% is negligible. So what I'm asking is for you to be fair and equitable with your community as a whole. I can't speak for the Hispanic and Asians and all the other folks, but what I am doing, I'm asking you, if you could at some point in time, tell us as a community how much money the city of Tampa is actually spending with black businesses in the city of Tampa. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Most High, Despot, HDC, Queen, King, Queen, Bubala, Vladimir Pan, Scion. Okay. I'm sure what we did yesterday. Talk about the blessing for Ukraine and stuff. All right. Yesterday we did a healing ritual ceremony for Ukraine. I'm going to go and read it off. Forever redeemed, set free, independent, interdependent, collaboration, sovereign, self-governed, spirituality, not religion, free people, not citizenship, sovereign, worldwide, global, American kingdom, United Nations, Siam, Infinity 13, 813, AIM, CIA, NATO, Ukraine, Russian, Irish, Scottish, Ancient American. By my decree, I hereby break the yoke, false blindness, dumbness, lostness, cast it away, never to return again. Abracadabra, someone to be. And that was for free in Ukraine. I understand it took some hours, but we got it done. Now, Africa, you keep complaining about this and that. Let me explain something to you, Africa. You've been paying your taxes to the EEU. You belong to the EEU. That's your whole taxation without representation. And it's unfair for you to keep coming in my city hall talking about, oh, the black people this, the black people that. And I hear you talking shit about my white woman. I'm not stupid. That ends. And you know, you black women want to talk all that junk. Rent's $5,000 a month. And as far as gas go, that's $10.31. And the cheapest meal you're going to find at a restaurant is $100. Now tell me about how much we don't care when we freaking put our lives on the line for you black ones that don't give a turn about none of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Not Tampa, Florida. John Digfield, 26%. Been speaking on it for years. Gentrification, high rent prices, high housing prices, home ownership out of reach, government out of touch with the general population, dictatorial policies, education controls. Those are white people problems. Those aren't black problems. Those aren't the problems that the 26% of the black population that inhabits this community, or the problems of the 14% of the black population of America. We Africans have different problems. Our problems are so far in the back burner, most people don't even see our problems as being on the stove. Crime isn't a black problem. Housing isn't a black problem. War in Ukraine isn't a black problem. Air quality isn't a black problem. Steel production isn't a black problem. Space exploration isn't a black problem. For the past 622 years, our only problem, or the only black problems, have been an undeclared war declared against Africa and Africans internationally, and our people are unaware of the atrocities that have been committed against us, from the theft of our continent, our labor, our ingenuity, social structures, our political structures, theft of our financial structures, our culture, genocide, theft of our existence by hostile forces, and those hostile forces repackaging those values and ambitions into what's called slavery, convict leasing, capitalism, imperialism, colonialism, neocolonialism, venture capitalism, startup capitalism, integration, affirmative action, and other forms of exploitation that is structurally designed to keep African Africans 100% dispossessed. If you did a survey and a poll the entire black community of the world, 99% of black people would list the 10 most important contemporary issues as Will Smith slap, Tom Brady coming out of retirement, NBA YoungBoy beefing with someone, the baby right to free speech, Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, Megan Thee Stallion, twerking, is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, Housewives of Atlanta, some black fools are still talking about Tupac versus Biggie. Nowhere in that list would you find the word reparations, black freedom, black power, Marcus Garvey's 622 years of oppression connected to our historical and contemporary dispossession. White people have it so game tight that right here in this city of Tampa, Florida, a $100 million project is in play, and of the $26 million we Africans supposed to get, out of the deal, we gets nothing. White people have been going west, young man, for over 400 years. So gentrification is just part of their mobility transformation. Taking all the land from the indigenous population and forcing them in reservations is the biggest example of gentrification, other than Putin giving the Ukrainians 6 months' notice to get out by lining up tanks in the Ukrainian border. We black people have to wake up to the reality of capitalism versus reparations and combine that with black people having the nuclear weapon under our control for the benefit of Africa and Africans internationally. Our problems are reparations, freedom, and black power.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
Good morning.
Good
Connie
morning.
Burton. When I came on April the 5th, last Tuesday, I came because the people sent me. Unfortunately, you couldn't hear the voices of other people, but I'm here today to continue the work of the people, and congratulations to you, Councilwoman, for your appointment. The reason why I continue to come is because of the ongoing negligence that exists in our community. For the last 20 years or more, this community continued to lay out the issues of economic fairness that don't exist in our community. And although this is a CRA meeting today, and the issues of East Tampa continue to stand up front and center, when you look at the main issues that we continue to raise in East Tampa as it relates to stabilizing dignity in housing, it don't appear on the agenda. We're talking about using some of the resources that's connected to the CRA dollars so we can have a massive infusion of rehabilitating housing. We're talking about giving young people an opportunity that they don't see their life expectancy ending at 30 years, but we can use that money to generate full employment in our community. But yet and still, what we have is the duplication of creating businesses and laying out infrastructure that would give new people that's moving into our community better opportunity. It is true gentrification is occurring. And a lot of times you say, well, you can't control the market, but you need to be watching inflation. You need to be watching the fact that things that go up so high tends to fall down. We need to be paying attention to the fact that we have two generations of young people in our community that is building their life expectancy on hopelessness. And yet, when we don't spend the money to foster goodwill in our community, and that we are not asking for you to take anything away from any other community. But when housing prices is so out of reach for working class people in our community, it is shameful and it falls on your shoulder. When we see a $100 million project coming inside of East Tampa, and yet the consultant that is being used can come to this council and tell you that money was spent for a bakery and a printer, and you think that's enough? It's not. We're not going to go away. We're going to keep advocating. We're going to hold you accountable to the resolution that you signed, that you say you acknowledge the disparity that exists in our community, and you have until your next election to show us that you understood and you made changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton.
Good morning. My name is Kela McCaskill with the Center for Economic Development. I have a cleanup. Well, I want to start off with the East Tampa request. There's so much happening in that CRA, and it's had the most money it's ever had in the duration from whence I've followed it. But my fear is that maybe we don't have a staff, or I would like to make certain that we have a staff that makes sure that money is spent with processes, it's spent equitably, it's making sure that we're moving forward in that district and making certain that that happens. I know recently the city hired Nicole Travis, I believe her name is, and she has a background that could definitely support the movement going forward in East Tampa. I don't know that the rest of the staff has that. So I would ask if it's possible. I'm not sure what that org chart looks like, but I would hope that she has a lot of involvement in East Tampa as we continue to implement programs, processes, and as they begin to develop. Because I'm just afraid that once they make certain improvements with infrastructure and other things, that they may attempt to abuse the monies. I don't want to make sure that Nicole Travis, someone with that skill set, is involved as much as possible in East Tampa. Then I want to also, I know I sent an email, but I'm going to extend the invitation again for the community cleanup. Previously, you all were involved and played a role in improving. We go in through this marginalized community and help seniors and disabled persons with community cleanup. You all offered, or you extended the ability for the solid waste to pick up the trash, and then you also come out and participate as well. It's just a good look that good things are happening in East Tampa, and you get to be a part if you sign up for April 30th. I did send all of you an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caskill. Any other speakers in chambers today? Any other speakers? Thank you. Ms. Michelle, do we have anybody online? I believe we have 3 speakers.
Good morning, Council. The first speaker we have is Michael Randolph. Mr. Randolph, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good morning, CRA committee. Before I get started, I'm going to give a shout out to AC, who has the West Tampa CRA. He's a stand-up guy. He's doing a great job. He's doing a great job because not only does he bring the skill set, but he brings the passion to listen to everybody to make sure they're inclusive. So today I'm coming in 2 hats. First is the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development, and then as the West Tampa CDC. As the nonprofit, Center for Nonprofit, we are a national organization that works in over 25 states and bringing technical assistance to nonprofit. To date, we probably have worked with over 420 businesses to get started throughout the United States. Related to West Tampa, our commitment to West Tampa is to the residents. In that particular respect, we've had over 20 different community meetings to deal with the issue related to Rome Yard, in addition to the meetings that the developer has given. We bring into the CDC some software that's really needed. One of the software that we bring in is what's known as Microsoft Map. That's going to allow us to map everything that we need to map. And it's very important when you want to make a presentation. We can map for a neighborhood group, for example, where's trash in the neighborhood, where's vacant houses. That's just some of the work that they can do. The other thing we bring in is what's called market analyst data, so we can analyze the data necessary to do economic development. We also have a software in which we can drill down and tell you everybody's income. In fact, I can tell you everybody's income on the city council and the value of their house. That's how deep this particular software goes. But we're going to use it for mobilization in the West Tampa community. We plan to train 10 community residents. People have been talking, and grant writing, because people have been talking about gentrification. How do we plan to deal with gentrification? We talk about creating 120 new businesses for residents in West Tampa, and as a result of that, over 140 new jobs being created. Now, here's what we plan to do. We plan to go after $800,000 from the federal government. With that $800,000, we plan to come back to talk to the banks. We use that to bring another 20 million, and then we're going to do grants to bring in 80 million. So what we're talking about with this project, we plan to bring in 80 million additional dollars to invest in the West Tampa community. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk, because this is about economic development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
Thank you. Next speaker we have is Ms. Jean Stromeier. Ms. Stromeier, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Hello? Can y'all hear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, hi. Yeah, my name is Jean Stromeier. I generally don't come to these CRAs because I just, anyway, but I was looking at the agenda and I looked at, just the first thing that came up to my head, that I saw is number 1, and it has, I don't know, that name kind of struck me, and I realized that name, Estro, whatever, Estroquiza, I'm not really good with that, is the same name that Gina Grimes, our city attorney, was texting with during the litigation against John Dingfelder. Just thought I'd mention that. I don't know if there's some kind of conflict, but it doesn't seem like somebody that's supposed to help the city is in constant contact with the developers who are overrunning our city, and in a not a smart way. That's why we have our neighborhoods. Back at the agenda, let's see, the ferry, there was I think an error in there. I think I brought that to y'all's attention sometime in the wee hours of the morning. I was going to talk about something else, but I'm going to piggyback on the gentleman that spoke earlier about the Dingfelder matter. And I do believe he got railroaded, as most everybody does. There's something not right. And when you do have a billionaire and the oligarchs coming into our city, just as the Bloomberg situation happened, y'all shouldn't have voted for that. We need to turn that around, because we didn't elect Bloomberg to be our mayor. We didn't elect Bloomberg Consulting to sit in our city and to have meetings with our people. We didn't elect our people to go to New York and have meetings. That's not what we elected. We elected you guys sitting there right now. We elected the mayor that's sitting there right now. We did not elect Bloomberg or the consulting. Now, this is something that is far and deep, and people don't like it. And I'm going to tell you, we do, elections have consequences. And also, these people, everybody's talking about the government owes them. The government doesn't owe anybody anything. And anybody, unless, we do need government officials, but I was taught never to work for the government. I was taught to work for yourself. So out of 8 children, my parents had, most everybody is self-employed, have made their own way. And I think everybody needs to try to work hard to get where you need to get in life. I learned that from Mr. Gucciardo, from work experience back in Lecho High School. I learned it at a Webb Junior High School when I was in work experience. So work for yourself. Learn how to interview and get a job or start your own business. That's the way to go, not in government handouts. We don't need that. Thank you.
Ms. Stromeier, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
You went
I'm
to
here.
Lato?
Yeah, I'm a Lato Falcon in 1986.
Go Falcons. Thank you.
My entire, all my brothers went there too, so you probably know them. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right, last speaker we have is Miss Fran Tate. Miss Tate, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning, council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just asked because I have a new headset on this morning. Happy Thursday to each and every one of you. I am Fran Tate, the Community Advisory Committee Chair of the East Tampa Partnership. Member Lynn Hurtak, welcome. We look forward to working with you in East Tampa and seeing you at the Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association April meeting. Councilman John Dingfelder was a strong supporter of our neighborhood association. Thank you for accepting our invitation. This morning, I'd like to address items 5 and 11. As you stated, Member Hurtak, you are new to the CRA, and I am new to the East Tampa CRA Economic Development especially. Item number 5 came as a result of frustrations felt by the CAC chairs, past, as well as myself, current CAC chair, and the community members. It was stated at the January 20th CRA meeting that out of 3 chairs in 5 years coming before the CRA, we've had the same complaint and concerns, which were and which are a lack of communication, the inability to move projects forward, and slow to no response from city staff. An example is the owner-occupied rehab program approved by you, the CRA, in July of 2021. An RFP was submitted almost a year ago with no explanation, no update as to why the program is not moving forward. My seniors and veterans of East Tampa still have tarps on their roofs with the hurricane season just around the corner. Item number 11, as chair of the CAC, I request you refer item 11 back to the CRA. The East Tampa CRA has more money in our budget than we have ever had, and we want to be and need to be more responsible with the projects that we recommend. I would also like to request that the legally reviewed and approved process for reviewing funding requests in West Tampa, in the West Tampa CRA, be referred to the East Tampa CRA for review and implementation. Please refer item 11 back to the East Tampa CRA, CAC. Thank you so very much. I look forward to our joint meeting on the 19th of this month. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Ms. Tate.
Ms. Tate, Mr. Chair, could I ask a question?
Surely, you're recognized, Councilman Carlson.
Ms. Tate, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
We got an email from one of the CAC members about item number 11, asking us to vote against it. Can you tell us, did the CAC vote in favor of it, and how did the vote go?
The CAC voted in favor of it. What else do you?
But you think it needs to come back for further discussion? Is that?
Yes, sir, because we don't have a process in order just as West Tampa CRA does. We want to be extremely responsible of our monies, and to just vote blindly without any type of application or process in order, that's being a little bit irresponsible in my opinion. So we want to review the West Tampa CRA process and adopt that process because it's only the right thing to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilwoman Hurtado.
Was that it?
I have a question for you as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So the application process, an order like West Tampa, do you, when you discuss this, do you have any paperwork? I didn't find any information about the actual program. Is that what you are going back to talk more about? I didn't see site plans or anything like that.
We don't have an application. I feel as a chair, it's important to have some type of a process in order. Or West Tampa has the model for it. Give us a chance to look at the West Tampa model so that we're not blindly just handing out our dollars that we're responsible with to different organizations. I'll give you an example. The floodgate is open now. I was just on a Zoom on Monday with another organization asking for millions of dollars to fund their project. How do we show responsibility if we are just approving and writing checks to whoever, however, and whenever? We got to get more organized in East Tampa. We understand that we're just not there. We're just not where we need to be in our CRA, but we want to be there. West Tampa, we see them as a model, and we want to be a model as well.
Are you finished? Councilman Goods.
I think what the problem you have when you talk about East Tampa, when you look at some of the other CRAs and you look at some of their qualifications, East Tampa now they have people who you can say know the subject matter. I think that's why you're getting the scuttlebutt now, because you have people who now know about economic development, they know about infrastructure and programming. Versus before we had a lot of our seniors that were on our boards, versus when East Tampa first, with that partnership, when you had a Diane Hart, you had a Mr. Kinsey, you had those knowledgeable people when East Tampa first jumped up. But then you got a big roadblock, and then there was no money for a long time. Now there's money, and people went away. Now you have people coming back who are now interested in making sure East Tampa flourishes. And a lot of people are just now going to the CRA just asking for money, but it's money that really don't really fit into what the CRA is supposed to do. And I think that's why now people are questioning, and I got a call about some other projects that I was taking back as well. And I was like, that process. So I can understand what they're saying. Some council, CRA board needs to look at. But I think, I know the frustration because I've sat on that board. And the frustration with many is that things are put out there, but it takes forever for them to come back or get implemented. And the question is why, versus if the administration wants something moved, it's moved, but yet the East Tampa folks feel like when they put an idea to foster the people, things there are roadblocks. That may not be true. I don't know, but I do know I've sat there and I've felt that way before. And there's a process throughout the city, but I think for me, I think East Tampa feels that they need to be bumped up. And what are the processes in place? They need to be moved to the head of the line so they can start seeing some of the goals and objectives for East Tampa. We talk about that rehab. From day one, when I was on the CAC in 2019, I talked about rooftops. I talked about slowing down gentrification by making sure we have dollars in small programs and grants to be able to make sure those folks can get what they need to remodel and rehab their houses. I'm hoping that moving forward we can get some of these roadblocks out of the way, and East Tampa goes to the head of the line versus being in the middle or the back of the line, and really have a concentrated effort on East Tampa on all fronts. So I do understand some of their frustrations.
Any other comments? I can only speak from my time with the EBOR CRA, and I have sat in many different CAC meetings for public comment and other things that aren't voted on. And the procedures I've seen in these other CRAs is The community comes together, talks to committee members. The committee members take it forward to the CAC. It's voted on by the CAC, and then the projects come to the CRA board. And I'm hoping we can have more cohesiveness between CRAs, and the community advises the committees, and things are voted on at the CAC members, by the CAC members, and then presented to the CRA board. Ms. Tate, are you still there?
Yes, sir, I'm still here.
Thank you, Ms. Tate, for your comments today.
Thank you so very much for receiving me, everyone.
Do we have any more? Okay. Ms. Van Loan.
Good morning, Michelle Van Loan, Community Redevelopment Director. Our first speaker this morning is Maritza Estraquiza, who is the chair of the Drew Park CAC, to give her monthly report. It's been about 7 months since Drew Park has reported out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today? I am here very proudly to let you know what's going on in Drew Park, and it's a lot, so I'm even using a cheat sheet this time. We had voted on bringing in a consultant to help us with our parks project, and staff, through other processes, Placemaker Design was chosen, Designer Studio.
Please, for the record, can
Yes.
you give us your name?
Oh, did I not say my name? Maritza Estraquiza, Drew Park CRA Chair. So we have Placemakers Design Studio. They came to talk to us at the last meeting that we have. They're going to be gathering some data and helping us with the next phase of the linear park that we have on Tampa Bay Boulevard, as well as a new concept of a neighborhood park in Drew Park. And those are going to be on Hubert Avenue. This project started several years ago when, through airport expansion, we lost Hunts Park. And then we got, in Isle Opus Park, we had Cordelia Hunts Park Center, but the residents in Drew Park weren't really able to access the children and so forth, Crossdale Mabry and so forth. So it was always on our radar to have a park replace the park that we lost. We do have the linear park. It does need to be a little bit now going into phase 2, developed a little bit more. It's a beautiful space, a beautiful preserved green space. It's wonderful. And now a pocket park, I would say, probably a better term for that, a neighborhood park for the kids, the neighborhood children and parents and family to enjoy. We do want to, if possible, keep and preserve some historical value, because we all are very, very proud of our historical history and, of course, our history of the military history in Drew Park. So it's going to be a wonderful project, and we're all very excited to move that forward. I think it's going to be a great enhancement for the neighborhood. We're also going through, we voted on to hire a landscape architect for Lois and Grady. Many of you remember it was a great overhaul of Lois and Grady, and it's beautiful, and it was, I mean, so much went into that. But now we're at the point where we need to go back and see, okay, how is it, being maintained? Are there safety issues now that perhaps the design needs to be changed a little bit? So we're in the process of that as well. Air-wide sidewalk parking, micro-mobility improvements. Okay, we voted to hire a multidisciplinary firm to look at the sidewalk programs, the gaps. We do have gaps, identify parking areas. We know we've had a lot of parking situations in Drew Park, improvements, safety, mobility. We're a community where it's a lot of commerce and industry, and we're coexisting with a very built, lined residential area, but we'll also have commercial and resident at the same time. So we have a lot of walk-in, we have a lot of people coming from point A to point B, we have a lot of children, we have a lot of commerce, and we have a lot of big trucks. And we're Air Cargo Road, which has been a great enhancement. We also have increased traffic. that goes in and out of our neighborhoods that we, didn't have before. So we need to look at that for safety purposes, and that's where our focus is, to make sure that we can enhance parking, sidewalks, mobility, and safety. So, good news is we have property on 4221 North Coolidge Avenue and 4224 North Hubert Avenue. Many years ago, we acquired this property so we could have affordable housing. And so now we're moving forward with the project. So we will review a request for proposals to send out for developers. It'll go down its process, and hopefully we'll be able to accomplish the goal that we set forth many years ago when we acquired these properties. So that's another project that we're going on. It's going on in Drew Park. There's a lot going on in Drew Park. We really are moving things forward, very organized. We now meet back again at District 1 in TPD, and holding regular meetings and moving things forward, as you can see. We are also working with the police department and to see if we are any future partnerships that we would like to have to better the living conditions or the safety conditions in Drew Park. We've, in the past, been able to have a particular project with the police department many years ago that was extremely successful with cleaning up illegal adult businesses that should not have been existent. And there was a big project, and actually the CRA received an award for it, a state award. It was a very unique partnership with the police department. And so now we're looking for possibly an additional partnership with the police department to continue to increase the safety in Drew Park. We also want to improve our gateways, other gateways into Drew Park. Identify that we're here. Drew Park is a very long-standing neighborhood with a lot of military history, a lot of pride, a lot of wonderful history in Drew Park, and we just want to preserve as we grow forward and not forget our history. Any questions?
Any questions or comments?
No, I just want to thank Ms. Cortez and her board and the CRA at Drew Park. As you well know, you mentioned Lois Avenue and Grady, and at one time that was just a miserable place even to drive on to look at. Mm-hmm. And through your efforts and the city's efforts together combined, we got money from the grants money received in your tax money, and Lois Avenue and Grady looks really, really nice compared to how it was, and it's looking better every day. However, a lot of the businesses, not all of them, upgraded when they saw the upgrade that you folks put in your hard dollars into. And you're right, there still needs some visual. People, I always say, people eat with their mouth, but they taste with their eyes, because what they see is how they feel. And when you drive through there, it does need a little tree effort. I don't know what kind, because I'm not an arborist. But I'm glad you're doing that. And on Tampa Bay Boulevard, when you travel and you go heading west to Cargo Road, and you go Cargo Road, there's a big development coming on the corner of Cargo Road between Osborne and Hillsborough Avenue on the west side of Cargo Road. And evidently that's going to be some company, I think, with a lot of people working there. Am I correct? I don't know what's coming there, but I read it in the paper like a year ago. And now I see fruition of the whole thing being converted. There's all kinds of equipment there, getting the land ready to build something, because they're doing a fantastic job moving all the concrete out, milling it, and using it more likely for construction purposes later on. But it's a changing area, and through your efforts of your committee and yourself and all those involved, it's really changed for the better. And I want to make sure that your park that you have, the trail that's around where the old printing press used to be now, it's a type of a U-Haul type company. I forget the name of it right now. But all that, and HCC, when they built all the apartments on Lewis, mm-hmm. and the roundabout, that started a lot of spurring people to move back. And what you're doing for affordable housing is exactly what we need. Congratulations to you and everyone in Drew Park.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments, questions? I also would like to echo what Councilman Miranda said. There for a while, the Drew Park CAC was a little rocky, and I'm thankful that it has come back. The process in which you mentioned your several projects, the park and other things, it went through the process of listening to the community,
Absolutely,
going to the committees,
absolutely,
then the committees coming to the recommendation
absolutely,
to the CAC,
Absolutely.
CAC voting on it,
absolutely,
and then presenting it to the CRA board.
absolutely.
So the cohesiveness of the members of the Drew Park CRA brought all these things to fruition.
Absolutely, yes. And a lot of the projects that you hear today were really, it's a process of ongoing processes. They just didn't pop up last month or a few months ago. I mean, this is an old CRA. I think it was one of the first ones, I think us in East Tampa. I may be wrong, please correct me. And so these are projects that, you know, have been on the radar for a while and been maturing. Others, you know, move forward, and then these, you know, so it's not something that just popped out of the air. We've, you know, been listening to the community for many years, and eventually, you know, you get to as much as you can get to. And now these have popped up, and it's its turn, and I think they're great projects.
Well, congratulations to you and your CAC members. And Councilman Goose, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm glad that Drew Park is meeting now and they're on track, but let me just say this. When Mr. Citro talks about process, you know, and I don't want to use the word offended, but I'm offended. East Tampa is different than other CRAs. Their issues are much more different than any other CRA we have. Yes, there are processes, but a lot of times during the process, some of our people don't know the processes. They don't know. They don't understand. It's a teaching mechanism that has to be in place for East Tampa because we have a lot of transition that comes through with those boards and those committees. They're just now starting to formulate committees, to have strong people on committees when we talk about the process. So yes, there's a process, Mr. Citro, and that's something that Mr. McCray and Ms. Valone can start to try to work those processes in, dealing with our citizens in East Tampa, dealing with our committees, the board, and in this board here. But there is a process, but unfortunately, it's been a long time East Tampa hasn't had that process to know what the process is about. And I think that is some of our issues. But I thank you for what your work you're doing in Drew Park, and I'm glad the process is working in Drew Park because I think your board is a little bit smaller than East Tampa. East Tampa is a little bit more unique because it has a partnership. It has all these different other components. I think that's the problem with our process. So hope we'll be able to get on track like everyone else. But thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. I don't know much about East Tampa right now, but I will tell you that the strength and the spirit that East Tampa had when the CRAs started and commenced really helped to inspire us in Drew Park. And I do remember that. I mean, maybe I'm dating myself, but that was 10, 11, 12 years ago. I don't even know how long ago it's been started.
Back then. Thank you.
And I do remember that, and I do remember as, you know, helping start that CRA back then in Drew Park and East Tampa at the same time that, you know, East Tampa motivated us. And I don't know anything about the other discussion, but I just wanted to, since it was brought up, I did want to take the opportunity to say that it did provide leadership and actually motivation for us. So, anything else?
Again, please thank your CAC members, your committee members for all their hard work in this.
Absolutely, thank you. On a personal note, I have no knowledge of whatever comments were made during the public comment today. Absolutely zero. My name was mentioned, and I'm not sure why, and honestly, nothing. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, CRA Board. Rob Rosner, Director of Economic Opportunity. I'm pleased to introduce item number 2 today. We're here to provide a report on the HMS ferries for the Cross Bay Ferry project that they have. And it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Mr. Ed Taranchik, who is an advocate and former county commissioner, and is here to give a presentation on those proceedings and how the ferry's been done. Mr. Taranchik. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Good
members of
morning.
City Council, Councilman Hurtak, congratulations. As my mom always said, be careful what you ask for. But very pleased that you joined council. Not sure how to run the presentation.
Just ask them to bring it up.
Can you bring up the presentation? I am here, oh, thank you. I'm here today representing HMS Ferries and Southwell Development Group, which is part of a public-private partnership with Hillsborough County. My name is Ed Taranchek. With me is Dana McDonald with Hillsborough County. She is the county side of the project. I will have to tell you that this year has been exceptional. We hit ridership records pre-COVID this last weekend. We have a revenue record this year. And because this council and 4 other governments invested in continuing service, we scored a $5 million grant for our own ferry vessel. The project is going exceptionally well, so I'm going to provide an overview of the big picture and the Cross Bay Ferry because they're all part of the same parcel. But this has been an exceptional year. And Ms. McDonald will be available for questions. I'm going to try to do this in about 10 minutes. You have the PowerPoint, so I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly. Next.
There's a clicker right there
Clicker.
in the center, and just press the right and give it a second to connect.
Thanks. Thank you. As I mentioned, this is a public-private partnership between Hillsborough County, HMS Ferries, Southwell Development Group. The engineering of record is Kimley Horn. Let's see, it's hard to see what the word is going over it. So this partnership has been in place since 2014. The Cross Bay Ferry seasonal service has been in place by 2016. The city of St. Petersburg took the lead and stood up seasonal service running between the 2 communities. It uses a chartered vessel out of Boston. And the predominant cost of the seasonal service is for that charter vessel. It comes down, it has its own crew, the crew goes back and forth. If we did not have to do that, had our own vessel, there would be no need for ongoing operating subsidies from anyone to run this service because HMS said they will take that risk. This grant that came out was only for existing service. And because the Cross Bay Ferry service continued to run, we were able to compete. The permanent plan is to run, have 4 vessels, with the vessels running by day between South County and MacDill Air Force Base. That is huge for city streets because it takes a lot of people that currently congest the roadways in South Tampa off of those. So by day, the vessels go back and forth. In the evening, that fleet of vessels runs between downtown Tampa, downtown St. Petersburg, and South County. This is a project that's been advanced by Hillsborough County. The County Commission has allocated $3.7 million for design and engineering. That's an extraordinary amount of money. There's no matching from anyone else. You know, on the streetcar project, most of the money for the streetcar is coming from the federal and state government. Here, Hillsborough County has advanced that. The other extraordinary part of this partnership is that, in fact, HMS Ferries has said once this is operating, you don't have to subsidize the operations, making it the only transit system in the United States of America where you don't have to pay to keep running it. For every $1 cost to run Hart buses, they get 25% back in revenue. This is 100% covered. The other extraordinary part of this is Mosaic has offered free land on their, down Big Bend for both the access road and a terminal. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you know I've been involved in transportation a long time. Never seen anything like this. It's pretty extraordinary. The cost of the program is approximately $48 million. As I mentioned, the long-term operating subsidies are 0. We are well into design. We have working on a memorandum of understanding with Mosaic that's very close. The Air Force has presented their agreement to the county for that part of the deal, and the Air Force has taken the lead on doing the environmental work. So it's gone very well. The plans are pretty robust. As I mentioned to you before, we got a $4.9 million grant. HMS worked carefully with the county in framing that. St. Petersburg, Pinellas Hillsborough all joined. Both transit agencies joined, all 4 area congresspeople joined in supporting that grant. I'm pleased to say that Ms. McDonald was the point person in crafting that grant for the county and worked with your governmental leaders in putting together a program that we think we got the 4th most amount of money. And this is a ferry grant program. You can't, it's not for buses or anything else. There's a discretionary pots of money for ferries. And you know, the fact that we got this money, and it much tells you how the Federal Transit Administration views this. We have the unique distinction as being the largest metropolitan area in the United States of America on a major waterway that does not use the waterways for moving people. But now we're changing that. So I'm going to go into now the Cross Bay Ferry. As of we're running 32 trips a week. We got a late start because Pinellas County took a while to get their part of the agreement. We were supposed to start on October 1st. We didn't start till October 19th. The ferry service ends on May 1st. Next year, it will run from October 1st to the end of May. Each year, the service is extended, but we can only do 32 trips a week because we have 1 crew, overtime rules, all that kind of stuff. So this shows the schedule. As I mentioned, we're over 54,000 riders. Our revenue is, we projected for this year about 640. We're going to exceed that. And as part of the agreement, every dollar earned after $400,000 is rebated 50-50 to the local governments. We estimate the city of Tampa and all the other governments will get approximately a $40,000 check once we close the books at the end of the season, which will be May 1st. We have developed a cooperative marketing program. We have about a dozen different companies signed up for that, but that's not going to get rolled out till next year. Here's what the program looks for this coming year. Because we're running more months, the overall cost is higher. Each local government would be requested, and this is part of the interlocal agreement, to invest $190,000. We are projecting a ticket increase this year. If that was $11.10 on average, we would project generating $65,000 of income, which case your actual out-of-pocket cost for the year would be lower next year than this year. You can ask Ms. McDonald about this, but Hillsborough County has requested FDOT to join into this. So if that happens, the dollar amount will go less. The extraordinary thing about the Cross Bay Ferry, though, is that you know how you do transportation studies and consultants come in and project, here's what we think will happen, and it's kind of a guess. We have 5 years of data. Every week we do customer surveys, every single week. In fact, over in Pinellas County, they're using the model we do for customer surveys as the model to govern their future transit projects. So where are people going to and from? 60% of the customers are coming to Tampa. Pinellas County would like to see a little bit more going their way. When they get here, they dine out, they go to museums, they go to shopping, they go to sporting events. Only about 4% said they take the ferry and go back on the ferry. If you will, it's a dolphin cruise for 4%. For 96% of the people, they're going to the other city, getting off and doing something and spending money. In a lot of respects, the ferry is far better than sporting events, because sporting events, the teams want to capture the patron to go in and spend money inside the arena. Here, ferry patrons go out and spend money in the communities. And they go here to Ybor City, the Florida Aquarium, the Tampa Bay History Center, Amalie Arena, Tampa Armature Works, downtown Tampa, Sparkman Wharf. Coming off of COVID, what better thing to help our hospitality industry than to deliver people to their door to patronize them. And those hospitality industry employs a lot of people in the center city. So this is a jobs program as much as a transportation program. Here's the other very interesting thing. 18% of the people who rode the ferry said they took the streetcar. Because half Tampa and St. Pete. 40% of the people coming in from St. Petersburg are getting on the streetcar and going to Ybor City. One of the reasons that the streetcar had historic ridership is because the ferry fed passengers into it. This coming year, St. Petersburg's bringing on the Central Avenue BRT, and it's going to connect up with the ferry. So very practically speaking, starting next year, you can go from the beaches in St. Petersburg to downtown Ybor City and never use a car, because there's going to be the transportation components to do it. If only we had more service. And the good news is once we get that permanent ferry vessel here, we can run longer hours and provide more service because we'll hire our own crews and you won't have any continuing operating subsidies. The other thing is the ferry passengers spend a lot of money, on average $40 a person. That's a lot of money. So they come here, they spend money, they go back by ferry. Here's the other important part. The ferry is not only, well, it is both a transportation option, congestion mitigation asset, but it's also an economic generator. 60% of the people said they only went to the other city because they could take the ferry. Take away the ferry, you lose that input from people riding the ferry, and according to our credit card zip code information, 20% of the people using the ferries aren't from here. So the ferry does a nice job of inducing businesses for the businesses in the urban core of both cities. On the other hand, 40% of the people said they were planning to make that trip anyway, but took the ferry instead. That's cars off our roadways, cars out of downtown during congested events. So I'm going to wrap up. This is a very powerful transportation and economic development transportation mode. Based upon the statistics I said, it generates business, it takes people off the road, and it does so at a fraction of the cost of any other option you can imagine or concoct. We are so very happy that Tampa City Council and the City of Tampa has decided to invest in getting this project going. It's incredible that Hillsborough County is providing the capital money for the studies and provided the $1.2 million capital match for this 350 passenger ferry. By the way, I do want to emphasize this one point, is that the grant that we were awarded will provide a 350 passenger ferry, and we're running 149. So once we get permanent service going, that permanent intercity service will be able to provide movement capacity for 1.2 million trips, individual riders. The current system only does 125. So if we can get this ferry procured in place, the economic impact and transportation value of ferry service when the permanent project is up will be 10 times what it is now. And that's nothing but good stuff in our view. I think that's it. Mrs. McDonald, you would like to add anything or join me up here if there's any questions?
Join you up here if there's any questions. And to be clear, the grant went to HART. So HART is the agency that had to apply for the grant. We put it together, but HART is the one that ultimately will be going through the process of procurement. We're working with them closely to make sure that, you know, anything that we have or any questions that they have, that we're working together closely on that.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Councilman Miranda.
I guess I'm a little different. no reflection on Ms. McDonald or Mr. Taranchik, but I think differently. Where does this ferry go in the summer or in the winter? Does it go to Salem and, no, Salem, right next to Boston?
It sails between Provincetown and Boston on an intercity run during the summer.
So this is the same one that was at Salem, wasn't it?
I don't know.
All right, there's a news that came out back in 2012, and the Salem newspaper, and I've got all the phone numbers of all the newspapers there. We're talking about a rate of possibly $11.10, am I correct? What I saw there.
If we increase it, it would be
and my memory's not as good as it was yesterday. It's a little bit better.
It's pretty good.
I got you, didn't I? Did. What we see here, and I'll give you the number, I'll give you the number of the newspaper, and I'll give anybody the number to check my figures, but I'm going by memory because I was there in 2012. And the ferry projection, it was right next to the train heading from Salem to Boston. I chose the train because it was faster and I think a little less inexpensive. But the rate was $40, $19, and $17. $17 if you live or residents of one of the cities that it went to, I think it was Salem. $19 if you're part of the county, and I think the fee to travel if you weren't either one or tourist was $40. But I'm not, don't hold me to that because I'm going by memory from 2012. The city or the components of each, wherever it started, wherever it ended, whether it's Salem or Boston or Providence or whatever, the cost of their endowment to the ferry was $700,000 a year. And again, I'm going by memory. So I lost my hair, but my memory's still with me to some degree. And again, I can get those figures by calling the newspaper. So what I'm seeing is instead of having rapid bus transit, smaller buses full of people, what we have is big buses with few people. And what happens to that is your eyes see it, you say, why I want to ride the bus, nobody's there. So it's like going to a restaurant, having a great meal, but you're the only one eating. Do you go back? Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But that's what we see. Why is it full? I would rather see many small buses in Hillsborough County and in the city of Tampa. I don't even appreciate the expressway building more lanes. All you're going to do in 2 years or 3 years, build more lanes because those are already taken. We induce travel and transportation by adding more something that you don't want. That's more cars and more traffic in the city and Hillsborough County. So if we had a light rail system of some sort, and if we had a lot of little buses in some sort, maybe, and I'm not saying it will, but maybe it would be better off. But yet we invest in a ferry and it costs, it started out like, I forget what it was, $250,000 each government. There was 4 or 5 entities.
175.
Whatever it was. Yeah. And sometime back, that was 4 or 5 years ago, I think. And I've just never supported this in a way because I'm not saying your figures are wrong, but I'm just saying that in my part, a lot of people use it. Come here, they drive, they get in the car, they leave, and get back in their own car and go where they came from.
Would you care for me to respond?
Just a second, I'm not finished yet. Very patiently, Mr. Taranchik.
I'm patient.
But I'm just saying that, and I'm not asking for anyone to think like I do, or even vote like I do. But what I'm saying is just something that has to be looked at in comparison to what? What if we had small buses? What if instead of waiting 30 or 40 minutes for a bus, we had every 10 or 15 minutes? Would that improve?
No. Definitively, absolutely, categorically, no.
Well, neither does the no for me doing the ferry.
Well, by example, 4 ferries, each ferry from McDill, South County to McDill, each ferry, one ferry carries the equivalent of 16 buses. Each of those buses would require an 80% operating subsidy, and the capital cost of those buses would exceed the capital cost of the ferries. And they're stuck in traffic, so people wouldn't take them. The advantage of ferry transportation is the right-of-way is free, it's congestion-proof. And we are foolish not to make use of a free asset known as the water. The ferries are allowing the people of Tampa Bay to connect to each other. And unlike a light rail vehicle or a busway or anything else, if there's no need to use it anymore, you can't recover the cost of that road. You can have a bridge to nowhere. You can have a rail line to nowhere. And the ferries, you actually can resell for a higher price than it costs to buy them. So this is exceptionally low cost. On an amortized cost per mile, the capital cost of this ferry system is less than the resurfacing cost per mile on State Route 60. Now, those are numbers, and those are absolute facts.
So then what you're saying is, let's keep it like it was, but change it to the ferry. However, if we had done this and continued to do this and change the way we think, maybe people would ride the bus. Maybe with people, more buses, more quicker service, you would get there. So then you also mentioned somewhere in that debate, not a debate, in that discussion of your presentation, both of you, that the amount of money that's going to be brought in, then is going to be split after a certain amount. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's exactly what we did with the sports team. The first $2 million goes to them, and then after that you split. What a country.
Well, the terms of the operating agreement were originally.
I understand that, Mr. Tragic. I'm not going into the specific details of any contract, or that contract I haven't read. I read the other one. So after you give what you think you're going to take, then you're going to split what's left, and what's left is very little. Why is it that you don't split from the beginning instead of having a cap where you get?
I can answer that.
Well, I'm not asking you to answer it, sir. I'm just saying that.
You just asked the question.
I'm just giving you a scenario.
I
Of
understand.
what's happening in this whole country, not over here. In this whole country, the rich gets richer and the poor get poorer. And if you had a system to move people around, which we haven't done, and I know they used to call you choo-choo, and I admire you for that because you're exactly right. It should have a light rail and should have transportation in a different mode. And we don't have that anymore. We keep building and keep adding and keep taking. At what end? We're all going to live under an expressway pretty soon if we keep it the way. There'll be no sunshine, very little. The people around it, it just, to me, it's got to have an ending sometime. And please go back to the Salem, and I gave you the Salem newspaper article. See if I'm at least close to the figures that I'm saying. The $700,000 was the grant money that was given, or the money that they charged the city. And I may not be 100% there.
Yeah, there's different ferry services.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I'm saying now, I'm quoting myself, because that, 10 years ago, and I have the phone number of the newspaper. You can get all the articles that were written there if you want to. It makes no difference to me. But to see what was happening with the same ferry, I believe it's the same ferry.
We'll follow up on
from Salem to Boston and back.
This does not run there.
I said it if it's the same system, but it makes no difference where it runs.
Well, it does.
I want to see what the cities that it ran in, what they pay. If this city is paying it in conjunction with the rest of the 3 or 4 governments, so was over there.
Just to correct the record, the Provincetown.
I'll give you 1 minute to rebuttal.
Thank you. They run from Boston to Provincetown, which is the end of the Cape. They run over open ocean, a 75-mile route. There is a separate ferry system that is publicly subsidized that runs from Salem to Boston as part of their commuter system. This is a privately owned vessel that we charter and bring down. I think you're running open ocean, 75 miles. There's going to be a different rate for that, just like running from Fort Myers down to Key West is, $125, but that's a really big vessel. So they are apples and oranges, but I will follow up with appropriate.
I will give it to you. I'll send it to you one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson.
Just to follow up to my colleague, Tampa has, you talked about rich getting richer and poor getting poorer. Tampa, if you look at the numbers just of Tampa, not of the region, failed completely the last 10 years. The middle class shrank most of the last 10 years during the biggest economic boom in American history. More people became poor, and the rich got richer. And in Tampa, anyway, that's because of specific economic policies of funding projects downtown and ignoring neighborhoods, especially poor neighborhoods, creating policies that profile people based on race, and also having economic development that only benefited rich people and is not equitable. And that's why I've been trying to get reform at the EDC and change completely our economic development policy. But the thing I wanted to ask you, Mr. Tranchick, in past times that we've talked about this, I think this is the 3rd year this has come up for us, there's been some criticism about how this is a tourist gimmick and not a real mode of transportation. Now, can you explain to everybody, the public especially, what the difference is between having two boats making regular headways versus one, and I think eventually you're going to have 4. But what you've been doing the last few years is really a test of the concept. But if you're able to have two boats making regular headways, then isn't it more reliable for people who want to use it for transit or other modes of?
Any transit, correct, Councilman Carlson, any transit ridership depends upon frequency and reliability. We run 32 trips at the times when we can have the greatest ridership, in part because governments want to limit the amount of subsidy they're putting in here and have the greatest economic benefit. Just with one vessel that we would own with this grant, we'll be able to run this vessel day-long, 365 days a year, because we can use our own crews. We'll hire local, we'll run local, and that's going to give us more mobility choices. The other thing is that with each vessel you add, you go from a vessel coming in every 3 hours to 1.5 hours to 1 hour, and so you build this frequency. I read the comments that come in every week, and literally tens of thousands. I'm happy to share them with council. It's extraordinary, the passion people have about this, that it is the best thing from all walks of life. All incomes have said, this is super. This makes so much sense. And the biggest criticism we have is not enough service. We would take it more if there was more service. So, buses get stuck in traffic. You get on the bridge, you're stuck. The thing about the ferry is you're never stuck in traffic. 99.5% of the trips left on time and get to their destination on time. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you remember that West Tampa trip to a Rays game that one time. A third of us took the ferry and two-thirds drove. Only the people that took the ferry got to the first pitch. It's just reliability.
Councilman Goods.
When I look at the overall picture of, I had an experience once. I took about 60 kids to New York, New Jersey, play a ball game, and inner city kids. Mm-hmm. So of course they've never experienced being on the water. So we got to New York, took the ferry. That ferry took us from one end to the other, and we were able to get off and go to all the places, the sites. And it was a beautiful thing. But again, that's a city has been playing with transit for many, many years. When I look at our bus system here, nobody rides the bus. No one rides the bus. I live in the inner city. I look at the bus all the time. It takes too long. It's hot. It takes you about 2 hours to get to some place. If I had a job working in South County, there's no bus that could get me there, so I can't apply for that job. Maybe smaller buses would work because maybe they can run faster. I don't know. They haven't done a study on that, but I know that what we do have, what we're spending, is a lot of money on big buses that are empty. When I look at the ferry, and we talk about South County. When I look at South County, there's a different type of economic impact in South County. So my question is, we're going to build something in South County to go to McDill. So I'm just trying to find out who's the riders and why South County to McDill. How does some of our marginalized communities benefit to ride the ferry? And the overall concept of this ferry. Sure. To me, when it first came to me, I believe it to be a tourism attraction, because when it was going from, you say Tampa to the ball field, and to me that's tourist, because I don't know too many Hispanic, black people, or low-income white folks that are going over there because they can't afford to do that. So I'm just trying to figure out the ridership of this whole program. Who's riding the actual concept? So if you can explain that to me, because that's where I get lost at a little bit.
Yes, sir. So the MPO did a study of all potential routes the ferry could run in 2011 and 2012. Independent consultant did that, and they identified McDill as, if you were going to start any place for a commuter service, this was the place to start. It's the low-lying fruit. There's 8,000 people that live in South County that work at McDill. The ferry is a officially adopted Department of Defense community partnership project. The Air Force is taking the lead on the environmental documents in NEPA here. So we want to use this inventory to do the most good for the most people. You would not start on the worst route when you start a service. You start on the best route. This route will not require an operating subsidy because the federal employees get a voucher. Furthermore, because of the 350 passenger vessel, when they get to McDill, we're going to have the largest articulated buses on the west coast of Florida to move people around the base. We're going to run the transit system. Not small buses, 120 person buses, because we did a ridership survey at McDill and found that 80 to 90% of the men and women surveyed in South County said they'll use the service. These are people that are protecting our country who have working kids and families. And it's good to do just for them, in my personal opinion.
And you answered my question because that's why I figured.
Yes, but let me just, it then goes and connects these South County, who has no restaurants, to Ybor in downtown that does, and to St. Petersburg, and connects between them. And any person under 5 rides free. So there's been a lot of pushback on our part, and I think by some of the governments of not wanting to raise rates to $40 or $20 because we wanted this to be accessible to families. So if you're a mom and you want to take 4 kids on a ferry ride back and forth, it'll cost you $20 for as many kids you want to take with you. And people do that. And remarkably, they do it for all walks of life. I've ridden the ferry probably 30 times, and the people who ride the ferry is us. They look like us, they look like our whole community, and they love it. And you know, for places like Ybor City and Tampa Heights and around downtown, it's business and jobs, it's economic development. So that's who rides it.
And appreciate you being honest, and that's when we talk about transparency. Now we get to the meat of who's riding it. It's a benefit for most of our military people do live in South County. So for the majority of them do. So that would be a benefit for them because now, it's a shorter trip for them to drive. So I can see that concept. So I can see why the grants and things like that are coming forward. And I don't have an issue with that. I just want to make sure that if I'm supporting something, what am I supporting? And,
yes,
and that's why I needed to know a little bit more of what actually it's this ferry doing,
In the evening and weekend service, 60 to 70% of the Tampa passengers live in the city of Tampa and live in the urban core. From Seminole Heights and East Tampa to Ybor City to downtown, it's clustered within a 3-mile radius. And within the downtowns, amazing, the people who live in and around it walk to the ferry. They don't drive, they walk. Or they ride their bicycle. 10% of our patrons get there by bicycling. It's this vision we always had of having this transportation system that works for everyone, that you can get to and people use. It's here and now, and it's not a consultant study. It's not something from any other city. It's here and now, and people are using it, and they're loving it. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for your presentation and for your, I know you're very passionate about this, and congratulations on all your recent success on the ferry.
Our success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've always been open and honest about the ferry, which is I've always had a conflict, I guess, if you will. A lot of the statements you make on it, I agree with, which is it's foolish to not use our waterways as a mode to move folks around, et cetera, particularly when the need is so compelling and great. And whatnot. I've always expressed concerns, however, on use of city dollars, particularly for the ferry. CRA is potentially another thing, but use of general revenue funds for the ferry. I've always just had a big challenge with that. I remember Councilman Reddick speaking some years ago, and Councilman Goods has also spoken on this, and he made reference to it right now. which is who rides the ferry, especially who do we advertise the ferry to. I don't know if anything has ever been done, et cetera, if it's, what parts of the city of Tampa, et cetera, are advertised to. Not saying that anybody specifically kept out or anything, but in other words, is the ferry something that's going to be realistically accessible to all of our city? I know you talked about things like kids under 5 being allowed to go for free, et cetera, et cetera. Just certain concerns that I've had, especially whenever it comes to general revenue funds. CRA funds are potentially another different issue. If it comes from downtown CRA, I use a different analysis on that. But with, again, still some level of skepticism. I've never considered myself an opponent of the ferry. I've never considered myself a strong supporter of the ferry. Just somebody who looks at it with a level of skepticism and goes each vote a new analysis at a time. So, but again, you guys have obviously gotten a lot of victories, including on the federal level with that. And if we can get this to be something that is, first rate, used by all sectors of our city, it would really be something that's magnificent for our city and whatnot. But that's it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may address the specific CRA point.
1 minute rebuttal.
Not rebuttal, just the principal businesses that benefit from the ferry are all located in CRAs.
The second phase?
95% of them are. And, it's for you to decide how CRA dollars are used. But the whole point of the CRA is to kind of push and promote economic development in those areas. And bringing people in that otherwise would not be there, spending $40 per person. I don't know how it gets much better than that. Now, whether you use general revenues or CRA dollars or transportation dollars is your policy point. But make no mistake about this. If you were to say we aren't going to do this, you're going to hear from dozens and dozens and dozens of restaurants saying, what are you doing? This is seats and butts, this helps us. And coming out of COVID, it's really important. And that's part of all of our city. That's
Thank
my
you. Mr. Massey.
And Ms. Van Loon may be able to clarify some of these points, but just since we're sitting as a CRA, I think the bulk of the dollars that were spent last year, or our contribution to this, came out of this downtown CRA. It was limited to this downtown CRA fund, just to make that clear on the record, so that it's not all the other CRAs that are contributing, and the bulk of it's coming out of the downtown CRA. Is that correct, Michelle?
125 from the CRA, 50,000 from the
Right. And so I think you all wanted to have this annual conversation to make sure that this was still something that you felt comfortable allocating CRA funds toward on an annual basis. So,
Councilman Carlson and then Councilwoman Hurtog, excuse me.
Yeah, two other points. One is this is about regional cooperation, which we have been in short supply of recently. It is former commissioner's been one of the leaders on regionalism, so thank you for all your service on that. But the other member governments have come together and funded this, and are we the last one in this?
Under the terms of the interlocal agreement, you have to actively say no.
Okay.
You're committed to fund this.
But have all the others already committed
Well,
this?
everyone's entered into this agreement,
Okay.
and it would take an affirmative decision by you not to fund it.
So anyway,
and you have to make that decision by June 1st.
And I was not asking a contractual question. I was more asking like the commitment of the region. The rest of the region has come together, and the first person that really stood up on it for it originally was Mayor Kreisman, and he took a strong leadership position, trying to bring the region together and trying to build cooperation. The more we understand each other, the better we all get along. The second thing is McDill was mentioned. McDill is in my district, and you all know that we have the people south of Gandy that come to us all the time, and they're pulling their hair out about traffic. And they're very upset about all the traffic that's there. I lived on Dale Mabry near McDill for several years, and most of the time I couldn't get in and out of my condo because the McDill was backed up for a long time. And you can see when there's some kind of operation going on at McDill, because there are certain times a day when they're changing shifts, and then when it's not at that right time, you see something happening. But it gets backed up from McDill all the way past Gandy, all north, and because people are trying to get in there. And the Expressway Authority has tried to work with DOD to get a special gate, but they haven't done that yet. There are 3 gates. The other one comes by where I live now, which is Bayshore, the southern part of Bayshore. I can't get onto Bayshore now because they're backed up 4 or 5 streets trying to get on Gandy from Bayshore, and you can just see the Air Force stickers on all the cars. And so if you can take major traffic off the roads, that will put relief on us from having to spend potentially billions of dollars widening Dale Mabry or building an extension expressway or widening the gates at McDill or whatever. Can you just tell us how many car trips a day do you think we'll take off the roads from McDill?
The good work that Dana did and everyone did to support the grant and getting us 350, we can take about 2,000 cars off the road every peak hour. And for those of you familiar with transportation, that's the equivalent of a full lane of interstate, which, Councilman Miranda, to your point, if you had to build it, would cost $1.2 billion. So in terms of this providing alternative transportation capacity, it works. There's 2 ways you solve your transportation problems. Unfortunately, we found a third one in COVID, and we don't want to do that. You build capacity or you divert capacity, and the ferry does a very fine job at that.
Mr. Massey.
No, I know that you weren't talking about a contractual issue, but the reason that it's coming up at this time is that you all requested it, that we do look at this in April because the opt-out time, and it would have to be a positive action of the government to opt out, would be, I think, sometime in June.
June 1st.
Yeah. So that's why it's being brought forward at this point in time, just to clarify for the record.
Councilwoman Hertog.
I just had a quick question, and yes, I do believe that adding the ferry between McDill and South County would help alleviate traffic all over the city. One of the things you brought up, though, was bicycle riders and how 10% ride their bike to the ferry. One complaint I have heard is that there's only so many bike spots on the ferry, and that it is tricky if you go down there to get on the ferry to, say, go over to St. Pete and there aren't any bike spaces left, but you were planning on biking to your destination when you got to St. Pete. Can you just
Sure, of course.
explain a little bit about that?
There's about 16 spaces for bicyclists, and then on the front, and then people will put them in the back. The design of this boat is not as a commuter. It's a design for running between Boston and Provincetown, where you take 30 minutes to load people. The vessels that we will design will be front loading with bike racks up front. So we do the best we can. We had to increase the dwell time at the dock in Tampa from 15 minutes to 30 minutes on weekends because of bicyclists and strollers getting on. It loads on the side and not the front. So it's a limitation, again, of having to charter a vessel that isn't necessarily designed for this specifically, but the future vessels will be. And you talk to cyclists, they'd love it. I mean, you go down there any weekend, you just see people coming off bicycles in either way, and they'll ride their bike over, ride around here, or vice versa. It's pretty impressive. But that's a limitation of the chartered vessel. It will be corrected.
Without any other questions, Mr. Taranchek, thank you very much for this presentation. I'm going to make this last, and it'll be just a statement. McDill would be the biggest bang for the buck and would please the most people. Around Washington, D.C., you have the Beltway. Military personnel get free passes on that busway. We are not smart enough, we, meaning the Tampa Bay area, is not smart enough to give our military personnel free passes, sun passes, to use our crosstown. Excuse me, Leroy Selman. The McDill would move the most people, not vehicles, people.
Thank you.
And would also free up our streets for the residents on our own streets. We would have a win-win situation. In all of this, I would vote for the McDill before any of the other ferries. So thank you, Mr. Taranchek, for your information and your update report today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fortunately, you're going to get them both. Thank you.
Ms. Van Loon.
Michelle Van Loan, Community Redevelopment Department. Item number 3 is a response to Councilman Vieira's motion on the accessibility study and plan by the Parks Department, and how can the CRAs potentially partner with Parks and Rec to help speed up and expedite the implementation of their plan. You have a memo from Sharisha Hills, the Parks Director, explaining the master study that they did, what went into that, how they prioritize the improvements that they do each year based on the funding that they have each year. Right now, there is a balance of a little over $3 million on their list for parks that are within the CRAs. And what we would do is, she has divided that up, Parks has divided that up. We have it in detail by every park. What are the recommended items? Also sorted by what are improvements, removal of barriers, adding accessibility, and the flip side of actually also increasing inclusive and interactive play equipment at each of the parks. And so we would work with each of our CACs and bring the respective costs and improvements to allow the CACs to then work on what their respective budgets can handle and to what degree they can help expedite that.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your memo and all your work. You know, the reason I did this, among other reasons, is, you know, that we CRAs a lot of times, most of the time, deal with incomes that are lower income, blighted, ignored, marginalized, and you know, there's a lot of neighborhood parks and a lot of city parks that need accessibility where lower income folks live and everyday working people live. And I think this is a very wise use of CRA dollars. It will increase traffic to these neighborhoods. It will make these families raising children with disabilities feel that they're involved and that they're affirmed. And it'll put the CRA on the side of economic development for people with disabilities. I think this is very important, and I think that if the CRA can help cut down that significant multi-million-dollar deficit, that it's a wise use of CRA dollars and whatnot. So I'll be making a motion on that if I may, and whatnot, with for this to come back to us, say in maybe 6 months or so, we can talk about that. And then with annual reporting on this, because I do think this should be a priority for our CRA, which is making sure that our parks have accessibility for people with disabilities and whatnot. It'll get more people to our parks. It'll help better economically develop blighted areas. I think it's fit with the purpose of CRAs. And we can, and I don't know the process, Michelle, but we'll have to, we can talk about that. But does this get brought up to each CRA board, or how would that work if we made a motion in that regard?
In the next couple of months, April, May, and June, our respective CACs are starting their discussions on their budgets for FY23. Each CRA manager will be given that detailed list for each of the parks and what they need, and then that will be part of the discussion at their CACs, and then they will vote on that. Again, some of the CRAs have a much smaller budget, and surprisingly, just because of the Tampa Park Plaza, so Central Park comes in as when we rank them, the one with the third highest budget at $268, and they only have a few $100,000. And East Tampa, because there's so many parks because of the size, it's at $1.5 million.
Great.
But the vast majority of that is for upgrading the actual play equipment itself, and to bring that enhanced experience for the youth in the area.
Thank you. Well, again, in closing, very, very pivotal prospective investment that we can make to make sure that lower income families and working families raising children with special needs have access to city playgrounds. I don't think there's a better cause than that for our CRAs. Thank you.
For our budget, when we come to you in the summer with our budget presentation, like I do with the housing, we can also call out so that you see for each of the budgets how much was put in there under the neighborhood infrastructure for any of the park projects, so that you know what that is.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Vieira for making sure that these things for disabled kids and that they have an ability to do something and feel good about themselves. It's all of us. And in every park, every dollar that this city spends, and I think we're doing a pretty good job, and especially Sharisha Hills the way she's addressing these things. No matter where you live in the city, east, west, north, and south, no matter what the income level is, no matter what color you are, if you have a park to go to, you're less potential to get in trouble in life. If you don't go to the park, you have a higher percent of getting in trouble. The park teaches you a lot of things. Teaches you how to win, and it teaches you mostly that before you win, you're going to learn how to lose. And it's only through practice that you're going to be able to win. And losing teaches you one thing: you get up and try again. Because if you don't get up and try again, you're always going to lose. So the park recreation gives you the ability to play with people, to have conversation, to share ideas, to do different things in the area that makes you an outstanding citizen later on in life. And these are things that are needed all over the city. And I appreciate everything that the CRA is doing to accommodate the park department and making sure that these things are attainable. Thank you very much.
So is that a second to Councilman Vieira's motion?
A long second, yes, sir.
Would you like to please restate your motion?
Anybody else? Can I just comment?
Well, I was going to take the motion first and then ask for comments. Make your motion again, please.
And again, if anybody, this is a draft, so to speak, if anybody has any suggestions, et cetera, I motion to staff to dedicate funds. And Michelle, should we give you a specific monetary amount? I know you said there's a $3 million deficit. Should we look up to a certain number, up to $500,000, $1 million? Would that be to have more specificity in the motion, or?
Because it's across various CRAs,
Yeah.
I just, how that would play out, but I will promise that our managers will work to look within their budgets. Like, for example, Ybor has been paying for their 2 big projects, so they may be a little bit more limited next year, but they only have a couple of items, so we just have to look, and many of them on the smaller side, we'll be able to knock them out in 1 year.
Great. And so then my motion would be to ask staff to look at dedicating funds with obviously the cooperation of our CACs, et cetera, getting their input, et cetera, on making our CRA parks accessible with accessible equipment for children and persons with special needs and disabilities. I motion that this returns to us, let's say, in October. Does that give you enough time?
We're actually coming back to you in August for the budget, so you'll have all that in the budget.
Well, let's have it come back to us then in August. Why the heck not? And then, and at that time, I'll do on annual reporting. I'll do that in August, but that's my motion.
Motion has been made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any discussion? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just want to also thank Councilmember Vieira for bringing this up and staying on top of this issue. It's nice we all have our areas of expertise, and we can always rely on Councilmember Vieira to be a champion for accessibility. I think it's 3 things about this. One is it's incredibly important that we're inclusive, that that our parks and public facilities are accessible to everyone. Just because of the fairness issue, we want everybody to feel welcome and included in our community. Number 2 is that the online reputation of our community and communities around the world is partly defined by accessibility, and if we're not accessible to everyone, including visitors, then it will hurt our reputation and economic development. And the third thing is that the great thing about this, although the CRA money has to be spent in CRA districts, these parks are accessible by people throughout the city. And so people like to change things up and go to parks that are not in their neighborhood. And so although we're making investment through the CRA in a particular geographic area, anybody throughout the city can go enjoy these parks. And so it's something that everybody in the city will benefit from. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item number 4 is a culmination of several of Councilman Carlson's motions regarding Tampa Union Station. We have Jackson McQuigg on the line, I do believe, from Friends of Tampa Union Station for a very brief presentation. You have a copy of the presentation, and then we have Ms. Kalina to come after him with the details on the city side and talk about moving forward. Are you there, Jackson?
You are muted, sir. You're still muted.
All right.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, fantastic. So I'm a board member and volunteer. My name is Jackson McQuigg. I'm a board member and volunteer with Friends of Tampa Union Station. I've been involved as a volunteer with the
Excuse
station,
me one second. I'm
since
sorry.
19
Can you share your screen, please?
Yes, I have shared my screen.
Can we get the presentation on our screens, please?
Are you seeing it now?
Not yet on our screens, on our monitors. CCTV, you back there?
Hey.
One more second. Thank you. Yes, we can. Proceed.
Wonderful. All right. So as I mentioned, I am a board member and a volunteer with Friends of Tampa Union Station. We're a nonprofit all-volunteer group, and we have been working with the City of Tampa staff, the CRA staff, and the Facilities Department staff, among others, on future plans for Tampa Union Station. A brief history, Tampa Union Station is one of Tampa's front doors. The second screen shows some present conditions. It's also used for community events. It is also the third busiest Amtrak station in the state, believe it or not. COVID has set it back a little bit, but it's an important transportation facility, not only for now, but for the future as well. On this third slide, you can see that the windows that were installed during the 1998 restoration, which was done by a nonprofit group called Tampa Union Station Preservation and Redevelopment as part of a broader community effort. The windows from the 90s are failing. And as the fourth slide indicates, we also have some rainwater leaks that have largely been corrected inside the main waiting room for the station. However, the damage that the rainwater did still requires correction. As the next slide indicates, we have some additional problems as well. The building, City of Tampa owned and managed, and the Facilities Department does a great job of dealing with a 110-year-old building, but it's a 110-year-old building. We have parts of the restoration from the 90s that are failing, including the ceiling in the work cashier area. We also have, unfortunately, a termite infestation in the building that will require tinting and for Amtrak to briefly move out so that those termites can be driven away. The next slide is a high-level outline of the path forward. And of course, we realize we have some issues that need to be addressed right now. Obviously, the termite infestation. We're working with the City of Tampa staff to address these immediate concerns, utilizing the $1.1 million in CRA funds that we were so fortunate to receive from the CRA. The CRA funds are also a valuable resource to us as they can be used as a match for grant opportunities available over the next couple of years. And I'm going to speak to that in a little more detail. Concurrently, and this is very important, the City of Tampa staff and our volunteers, these are people that are from all walks of life with varying backgrounds and talents like real estate, and an architect on board, and they were just a great group of people. We're going to all work together to develop a strategic master plan for the station. And at the same time, we're going to seek new sources of recurring revenue for Tampa Union Station so the building can continue to function and help pay for some of its own upkeep in the future. The next slide here, at high level, $2.5 million essentially is needed for the repairs and restoration of the station. That's an estimate done by the City of Tampa staff. Now, of course, we all know that construction pricing keeps escalating right now, and it's beyond our control. So it's important to emphasize that's March 22 figures. Funds are currently available, as I mentioned, $1.1 million in the CRA's funds that were provided to the project. We also have $25,000 in private donations. That's both from, there's an endowment fund for the community at the Community Foundation for the station that we established. That's some of the income from that fund, as well as special events rental receipts that the city has received. So On the city's books right now is the sum of the 1.1 plus the 25. We have actually started grant applications, and we're very close to completing a $500,000 grant application to the state of Florida Division of Historic Resources Special Category Grant Program. We also intend to seek $1 million from the Federal Railroad Administration, which is part of USDOT money that basically came out of the infrastructure package that was passed by Congress. There are no assurances that we'll get these grants, but we're going to give it our best. We also intend to seek private donations, community foundation grants, grants from other local foundations as well. The next slide discusses what we intend to do with that master plan. We're going to look at enhancements to the station. Again, it is a very active train station. And that use is first and foremost and will continue, but there are spaces in the building that are not utilized. There are also uses that may be coming down the pike in the future. We think a great addition will be a destination coffee shop. The building's not currently equipped for that. It could be in the future. Business workspaces may be made available, obviously for community events, things of that nature, startups. There are a lot of things that could be done in some of the unused spaces in the building. We also seek to find lease paying tenants for some of the unused spaces in the building as well. Historical recognition is also very large on our agenda. There's been a proposal, as you all know, to do a statue that reflects the very long and important history the station has played in Tampa families. There are plenty of veterans that left and came back via Tampa Union Station right through the Vietnam era. We have it documented. And of course, some of those folks didn't make it back. So it's a really powerful story that we want to tell. And there's additional stories at the station that we want to tell as well. And again, passenger rail service needs first and foremost as this station continues to be Tampa's railroad station, and Amtrak intends to be there for many years to come. These additional uses will require additional funding, of course, and we'll identify those funding needs in the master plan. I wanted to share with you on the next slide an example of the progress that we're making at the station, working as one team. The baggage building, part of the 1912 structure of the station, was basically in need of some attention. We had rotting windows. The building wasn't protected with fire sprinklers. It's not air conditioned. It was basically unusable, although our group has set up model train displays in the station, in the baggage building during train day every year. So we worked to get some funds and to actually outfit the building with fire sprinklers, air conditioning, replace the windows. And our budget was $190,000. That was volunteer time. Gerald McCaskill Architecture, he's on our board, donated his time. We got donations. My father left us some money. I got some foundation grants, and importantly, we have a historic preservation grant from Hillsborough County as well. Thanks to some supply chain issues that the timeline on that project has been extended a little bit, but we're looking to completion in May 2022 and celebrating that progress in summer 2022. And the following slide shows some of the work that's been done inside the baggage building, the new windows, the rehab doors. We even found a use for some old City of Tampa street pavers. The brick floor of the building needed some additional brick. By the way, at the bottom of your screen, you see a shot of that building with delivery drivers from 1922 that's over at the public library now. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding this presentation or the station generally. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson, is your motion?
Yeah, thank you. And first I want to thank Jackson. I don't know if you all can tell, but he actually lives in Atlanta now, and he works for the Atlanta History Museum. So we're lucky that he still has a passion for this. And part of the reason is his dad led the effort back in the 90s. And what he kind of alluded to, just to clarify, is that the nonprofit that he and his dad ran in the 90s actually took control of this property from CSX. And then when Dick Greco was mayor in the 90s, he asked that it be transferred to the city. So they actually ran the whole thing before it went to the city, and they were responsible for restoring it. And then his dad passed away last year, I think it was, and left some money, which he alluded to as well. So thank you to them, plus all the other volunteers there. You all know that this is an important historic building. It's a building owned by the city. It has space that's being underutilized that we could use. It's important for transportation, and in the future, as we continue to be more dense, there will be more uses for this, hopefully, and Amtrak or whatever other providers will be there. The other thing is that if you look at what's happening spatially around the region, I've spoken to the Encore people, I've spoken to the Gasworks people, spoken to the Channel District people. For people like Andy Scaglione, who's right up against the Selman, this is the back door or front door, depending on where you're coming from, to Channel District. It's the front door for the Encore and Gasworks. And so this is the center of all the multi-billion-dollar development that's going on in Tampa right now, other than Midtown. And so it's a really important historic building, but it's a centerpiece for everything that's happening around it, and it shows it's an anchor for the history that's happening there. And all those big players are really excited about this building being preserved, for it continuing as a transportation hub, and more importantly, for it being a business incubator. And so we want to make sure that we continue with that, because from downtown east and north, we don't have enough coffee shops where young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs of any kind can go and set up a laptop and start a business or get supported with business. Incubator organizations like Tampa Wave and others would love to rent this from us. I'm sure Oxford and others would love to do that. It's a way for the city to generate money and income and traffic. When people arrive on the train, do we want the first impression to be a rundown building? Or do we want it to be a beautiful building that's beautifully restored with entrepreneurs working in it? And that's what other cities like Denver have. Also, this is across the street from the Jackson House, which we've also put money in our budget to save. The importance of the Jackson House and where it is, I believe, is not the people that stayed there. It is that it tells my kids and others the story of segregation, that when African Americans, even famous ones that were on their way to Cuba by steamship, when they arrived in Tampa, they could only stay in two places, and one was the Jackson House. And we need to be able to keep that story alive to make sure that we don't have policies like that in the future. He mentioned World War II. That's an important thing also. My question to you, Jackson, is are you satisfied with the status of where we are right now? And how soon do you think we can address the incubator opportunity and also the World War II statue? Where do they stand?
I'm very satisfied with where we are on the progress. The city staff has been really responsive to work with. It is incumbent upon all of us to get a master plan together, and we're going to start right now. And the facility staff can currently, as I mentioned, they've got to address some issues with the building. So we're rolling, and we look forward to coming back to y'all with an update soon.
Two other quick things. Two threats to this facility. One is that I've heard that there's been talk inside the city about moving the Greyhound station to this station. There's no synergy whatsoever with the train station, and it wouldn't make sense to do that. It should be along the Marion Street corridor or somewhere closer to our bus services, not there. Greyhound is a competitor to, or long distance buses are a competitor to the rail. It wouldn't make sense to put that there. So if you hear of that happening, please oppose it, and maybe at some point we'll have to vote on that. The second thing is that the Expressway Authority is looking at different alternatives to put a new ramp somewhere there, and there's a piece of grass right in front of Tampa Union Station, which could be a place for public art or some kind of public purpose. But if the Expressway Authority puts a ramp on that, you won't be able to see Tampa Union Station anymore, and you won't be able to see Jackson House. It could, and it won't be good for the flow and the connectivity between Channel District and Gasworks and Ybor. So I would just ask everybody to watch out for that. Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. I think Councilman Carlson touched on almost everything that I wanted to say. In regards to segregation and the history of that, the Jackson House still exists, Union Station exists, but there was a hotel that no longer exists that was demolished I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, maybe more. I think it was Union Station Hotel or Union Hotel. It's a parking lot now. If you look at the movie The Punisher, I think they show it in there, but it was a white-only hotel. And then for those that couldn't stay there, they'd stay at the Jackson House. But this structure and its architecture, there's a limited amount that still exists in the city of Tampa, beyond Ybor City, and those historic buildings are downtown West Tampa, which is that Howard Main Street corridor. I think we have to protect this building at all costs. For students of architecture, people that admire that time period, the history behind segregation and whatnot, again, it's, you know, people that arrive here by train, this is going to be their first impression. Beyond what they see in the Channel District and downtown and Ybor City, you know, they get here and you want to have a nicely maintained facility, and you also want to use it to the maximum capability, whether it be, you know, a hub for entrepreneurs or a coffee shop or whatever it is, but keep that building alive. We've seen so many buildings, you know, look at Armature Works. Armature Works was an empty warehouse for years, and look at what it's become. And it's growing, and that whole area is growing around that. So this is a very significant structure in our history. I know under the Greco administration in the 90s, they tried to restore it and bring it back as much as they could, but you see water intrusion through the windows, through leaks through the ceiling and whatnot. That's our biggest enemy here, tropical climate, humidity, water, and these buildings need that constant maintenance. We see that again with Tampa Theater needs constant maintenance. In Ybor City, our social clubs, the Centro Studiano and the Italian Club and all that stuff. So this fits into that because it's of that same era. So I'm glad Councilman Carlson brought this up. And that's it, thanks.
Councilman Miranda.
Sorry, you can call me Maniscalco. I take it, it's no problem. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I really appreciate what Mr. Carlson is doing here. I remember when I was a kid, one of the things I remember as being a kid was everybody liked trains. Everybody had a little choo-choo train at the house. Why? We didn't have anything to do, but there was very little money, so they'd take it to the train station to see the champion and the silver meter come in and leave. And that was a big thrill to all of us. And all of a sudden, I was about 9 years old, and they brought a special train in to show us, and I forget the name of the train. It was the one that was like a double-decker, and it was all glass on top, and it was beautiful that you come in and walk. And those were the things that I remember growing up in Ybor City, because there was not much to do other than go to the Ritz Theater and things of that nature, and Cascading Park to play. But it's this was done under the Greco administration, as Mr. Maniscalco said. I was there. And he mentioned the Tampa Theater. Tampa Theater was saved on a 4-3 vote for $90,000 for restoration. 4-3. And I appreciate being one of the 4. And I just want to say that I believe in saving things that mean a lot, not only for the yesterday, but today and for tomorrow. And trains will always be a part of America, one way or the other. And the way they are now, the way they're getting better, maybe they'll be here for many hundreds of years to come. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything, and what we can do to restore this building, I'm for it.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, sir, and also wanted to thank Councilman Carlson for this. You had me at Gary Mormino, so that when you mentioned Dr. Mormino, who's such a great guy, you know. And another thing I also wanted to point out, I always think as an attorney, I was trying to look it up, how far the George Edgecombe Courthouse is from this. There's a lot of young attorneys who go to court, and you have a lot of young public defenders and state attorneys who are there, and this isn't that far away. And if they need somewhere to prepare or cram, if you will, for court, you know, this could in the future provide a really good, viable place for them to go and whatnot. So I would say on top of the Jackson House, you know, George Edgecombe prospectively, I got to see how far away it is. I don't think it's that far, is a good resource for that. So, you know, 100% supportive of this. I think this is a marvelous endeavor for us to take, and that we should go, you know, rapidly and aggressively on this. And this is a great thing. So thank you.
Please.
Good morning, Adri Colina, Director of Logistics and Asset Management. Congratulations, Councilwoman Hurtak. Jackson did an amazing job this morning. He covered everything very, very well. And I want to thank the CRA for the $1.1 million investment. And I also want to really applaud the Friends of Union Station and thank them for their efforts. You know, when you walk into that building, my staff did a comprehensive assessment of what is needed right now, the immediate needs of that building. there's a feeling you get when you walk into that building, and we do need to preserve it. And that 1.1 million, we looked at what are the top 2 things we need to do, and it's the termite, we need to tent it. We need to protect it from that, and the windows and doors behind that. And that's going to take up a good chunk of that 1.1 million. Simultaneously, they'll be applying for grants, and we'll look to what needs to be done next. But the reality is, between the grants and the supply chain issues, we're looking at the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025. We want to minimize our impact to Amtrak and keep the station going while we do all this work. So that's where we are. We're committed to the project, and I'm excited, and I thank you, Councilman Carlson, for bringing this up, and for and for the team working together.
I would like to thank everybody involved for this report, and I'm glad we could help save this historic building. Anything else? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, thank you, Adri, and also thank you to Chief of Staff for being involved in this too, because this involves multiple departments, not just one. It's an important project. Could I make a motion to bring this back in the October meeting, just so we can get another update?
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Cedric McCray, East Tampa CRA Manager. We can bring up the presentation. And at the January 20th meeting, the chair and vice chair of the East Tampa CRA shared with you some concerns that they had as it relates to East Tampa and the movement of projects and processes. And here just to provide a brief update on those 6 or 7 items that were mentioned at that time. Can we bring up number 5, please? Presentation, number 5.
CAC, you back there? Excuse me. CTTV, you back there?
Dan?
Mr. Fogley.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We should do that as a retreat, as council.
I think we should.
Go climb a mountain.
Just so the public knows, what we see right now is a picture of a big, like, granite mountain with one person two people far away climbing up it with like pickaxes or something. It looks scary.
All right, topic of discussion. Is anybody watching Killing Eve?
What is that? Is it on Netflix?
Yes, it's a great program. British, BBC.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Surely.
I wanted to salute Councilwoman Hurtak for wonderful. Your handwriting is by far and away the best here. I don't know if y'all noticed that.
And you know why? Again, I'm a former elementary school teacher, so
it shows. I noticed that.
Very good. They scribble and.
yeah. I went halfway through and I thought maybe I should just be doing Lynn. And I said maybe I'll transfer to that next time.
Why don't they teach kids cursive anymore?
There's not time, so what I actually did was we did it at the end of the school year because and you treat it as a
Do you want to go ahead and start the conversation, and we can come back to?
Something out of order, yeah.
All right, I'll move forward, and we'll come back to it.
I'll skip around to the easiest ones that are, so number 8 is a facade grant in West Tampa. It's this wonderful old historic building, right there on Armenia. It's a
Actually, number eight, I believe, is the.
No, I'm sorry,
Right.
Sorry, number 8 is the schedule for the CRA meetings. We're asking you to formally adopt your meeting schedule for the rest of the year, and we will then be able to turn around per state statute and advertise as required, and we'll do it either on a quarterly or 6-month basis. So,
Second.
thank
We
you.
have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Carlson. Let's take a roll call vote on this.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera, Citro,
Yes.
Miranda, Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried, Miranda being absent.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I'm just so used to the facade grants being first. So number 9 is your facade grant for West Tampa. It is on 2501 North Armenia. And again, it's a wonderful corner little older building that's been sitting vacant. And this facade grant will help it address some of the dilapidation of the brickwork and so forth.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Which building is this? The one that they tore off the stucco and exposed the brick and it's like multicolored right there on the corner?
It's got a red, it's like part of it's white now and part of it, you've got the red brick and white up on top.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. All right, thank you.
You should have a picture in your packet that you,
Yeah, but the brick was covered for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I know which one it is. Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Carlson.
I don't normally vote for facade grants, but except if they're historic buildings and because I've seen the pictures and read about this building, and so I think it's a good idea.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Yeah, that's the one.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. Roll call vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera, Miranda, Hurtak,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried with Miranda being absent. A vote.
We have our screens up in front of us if you want to go back. And we're on agenda item 5 so far.
Good morning again. Members of the CRA Board, Cedric McCray, East Tampa CRA Manager. As I stated briefly a few moments ago, there were some concerns that were expressed from some members of the CAC as it relates to progress in East Tampa and programming. Just here to provide some updates on those items that were brought to your attention on January 20th of 2022. We have a owner-occupied rehabilitation program that has been submitted to purchasing. That program currently now is under review, and a pre-proposal date will be set by purchasing once the RFP package is complete. We have almost weekly conversations with the representative in purchasing, either myself or our new staff member, Ms. Vanessa Ross. And that program was designed to help low and moderate income families with any type of interior or exterior improvements to the property. Program was developed in last summer, probably right before my arrival, and there were some conversations and tweaks to the program in the latter part of November, December, and then it was submitted again to purchasing in January. So we should have something here in very short order, and it will be out and advertised.
Councilman Goods.
What's the short order? I mean, we've been hearing and hearing the process. We've been hearing and hearing.
Yes, sir.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of endpoint, a date. I mean, it's been there a while now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so this body needs to know when is it going to be completed, and the community wants to know because this is a very, very important component, especially with our housing crisis situation. So I just don't understand, what is the holdup?
Yes, I'm sure there are a multitude of things that they're working on, and I've expressed the importance to the city staff as it relates to that. I'm hoping and praying it will be within the next 30 days.
I'm hopeful too, because housing is a situation right now, and you drive through the east side of town this should be a top priority for the east side of town. And again, I don't understand. I see the frustration of the community and the CEC, because it's my frustration too, that this should have been completed a long time ago. So I'm hoping to get a definitive answer soon, because the community is really begging for this program.
Yes, Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of complaints, especially from East Tampa, and as I've said, we've had 3 different chairs who didn't always agree with each other, and we've had lots of complaints. I would just remind my colleagues and the public that the CRA is a separate organization. It's not a part of the city. The relationship with the city is that we have an outsource agreement to the city, and we have our own staff, but then if it's a building like Tampa Union Station that's owned by the city, then we have to work with it. But to the extent that we're putting a program forward that isn't involved directly with city staff, if we're not getting the performance we want, we have to include that in our renewal requirements for the outsource agreement, and we have to file our protests about that because it seems like, not to bring up subjects in the media, but it just seems like some things are not prioritized, and certain proposals by certain people aren't prioritized. And this is not something for any particular person on this board. It's something for the community. The community's has been asking for, and if city staff aren't willing to move forward, what I think we should do is for sure include it in a review of the contract with the city, but we also should look at outsourcing. Why do, if it's something where we don't need all of it or part of it to go through the city, let's outsource to somebody else. We can do that. We have the right to do it. We don't need to put everything with the city, or we need to tell the city that we're going to reduce their budget if they don't move forward and get things done. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I do want to make one, just so that you understand, there is a state statute that does require that CRAs go through the same purchasing process that the local government that we're attached to.
I understand that, but we can hire our own. I mean, the argument is always, well, the city gives us free services and legal and other things, but that's how we're bound to this, and we don't get progress. When we started, there was a huge budget in the East Tampa CRC, the CAC that should have been, or district that should have been spent, and now there's still more than $1 million, the last time we heard the update, that's in that district, and in an area that needs money for lots of things, it shouldn't be held up. And if it's that part of our outsource agreement that the city staff cannot handle it because they're working on the mayor's priorities, then we need to hire our own staff to do it. And somehow we need to move this forward because our economic numbers are always going to be bad. They've been bad for 11 years now. We did not successfully, compared to other cities, pull out of the Great Recession because we didn't address these issues. And we're going to get blamed for it. This mayor's going to get a blame for it because the public doesn't see the difference. And since we have 100% power, but we also have 100% responsibility on this, we've got it, the buck stops with us. We've got to make sure that it gets done, however it gets done. I would just ask the executive director and my fellow board members to think about how do we expedite these things, because it's not acceptable that the public has to come here every week asking us why we're not doing things. We've got good ideas pushing forward, but for some reason they can't get done. And we've added staff to try to get it done, but if city staff won't work with us and they're not necessary, let's outsource to somebody else. Thank you.
Mr. McCray, please continue.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. There was a request that the agendas and items be submitted 5 days in advance. I can tell you probably within the last 6 months, we have been sending agenda items out through various means within 7 days, more than likely. There is some conversations that go between the chair and myself as it relates to the agenda and formatting, but for a great majority of the time, we've gotten those agenda items out within 7 days to allow the CAC members and the members of the community that are attending the partnership meetings to have time to review and see what's on the agenda. And included in that, we have the agenda itself, the minutes, subcommittee minutes when they are submitted, any presentations that are going to be coming forth to the CAC and the partnership. Also, we begin to include the actual budget on a monthly basis for review, and the overall meeting schedule, and that goes out every month for the upcoming meetings. And even when I'm here for the CAC presentations, I always have traditionally had the upcoming meetings, dates and times on that PowerPoint slide for review for the community.
Councilwoman Hurtag.
Good morning.
I am not, that's not what I'm hearing from the community already, that this is not coming out within 5 to 7 days. Is there a way that, I don't know if we can actually get those agendas sent to us as well to make sure that we're actually getting it on time?
Yes, absolutely. If you're not receiving it, we can make sure that you are on the email list.
I would
to
appreciate
receive
that.
it. Absolutely. Okay. Next slide. Economic development staff, as it relates to the vacant positions. There we go. As you know, in the last 3 months, we've hired a couple more people. Ms. Vanessa Ross, who comes to us with economic development experience and housing from another municipality. And we also have hired Ms. B. Parks, who was a former city employee, has housing experience, although she's assisting us in communications, but she does have a level of knowledge and understanding in that arena as well. And we will be partnering and working with amongst ourselves as a staff and the community to move some things along. And both also have grant writing experience as well. So that's how we have addressed those issues. I know that Ms. Ross started in January, Ms. Park started in March, and we also added Mr. Burks in February of this year.
One question.
Yes,
sir.
Councilman Goods.
I think it's great because I know Belix has experience, you know, and that's a great asset that she can kind of help out. So applaud you on that. I think the concern of your board and the community is that when you talk about economic development, having somebody with the expertise and eyes to really look at the development of businesses, development of the community. We got Ms. Vanessa as your housing, but I guess they're asking is that they need an economic development officer, somebody who knows economic development to get the engine moving, to foresee and look at projects and be able to get those things moving. And I don't think we have that. I don't see that. And I think that's what they're upset about mostly is the economic development portion of rejuvenating East Tampa into a business hub of your Nebraskas, your 22nd, your 29th, someone who has that first set skill could be go out and say, this needs to be developed. This can be built into this. You can put your money into this to get that impact that they're looking for. So I think that's something that down the road that the team needs to be looking at if that's needed, and they want that, but I believe they do. They want an economic development officer who knows economic development. I think that's key, not a planner. Planner doesn't do economic development. It's just a total different strategy with that. So I think down the road, that's the conversation I've been hearing. I think that's the conversation that's needed because when you look at other areas of the city, they built that economic development hub somewhere. So I think that's what they're looking for.
Point taken.
Food for thought.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, and I say this all the time, but I don't know if I've said it to you since you've been back, and I'm very happy that you're back. We need to make sure it's somebody who understands economic development, not just real estate development. In this city, economic development means two things: major real estate development and subsidies, and it means subsidizing out-of-state companies that want cheap land, cheap taxes, and cheap labor. And what we need is to really help entrepreneurial growth in East Tampa. Help people start businesses, help them sustain businesses, help them grow their businesses outside East Tampa, or help entrepreneurs that would make sense for them to be located there. And so what we need is somebody who really understands that. What we don't need is when we started 3 years ago, there was, I think, $3 million in this bank account. It looked like the last administration was banking the money to subsidize a big gentrification project. And we don't need that. We don't need to take the Winn-Dixie and put in some big mall or some big box development that we're going to subsidize. What we need is to have a grassroots effort that helps people start businesses and build up the community and build the infrastructure around that activity, and also the neighborhood commercial centers. Thank you.
Next slide. So as it relates to the grant programming, we listed out in the slide PowerPoint as it relates to the neighborhood amenity grant, owner occupied. There were 4 grants that were approved by the CRA board last month, and then some of the previous ones that we've had on record for quite a while: the facade grant, the tree trimming grant program, as well as the East Tampa down payment assistance program. And there are some other potential opportunities for future grants in discussions, but we will be having those discussions with the East Tampa CAC.
Is the alley on that?
Councilman Gooch, you're recognized.
Yes, I have been given a report that was done actually, I believe, last year in 2021 on East Tampa alleyways recently, and we're having discussions about an overlay. Had our last meeting last Tuesday at the East Tampa Partnership meeting on that evening, and we are having discussions about the alleyway improvements and kind of explaining and having those conversations with residents as we move forward with the budget workshops that we're going to be having in the next month or so. I'm pretty sure that we will be discussing, going through the budget and figuring out what line items we want to allocate towards how we want to move forward in those conversations.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Next slide, please. Okay, hiring specialized consultants to hold workshops and dedicated discussing. We will and have been discussing the nature of work as it relates to consultants, defining the housing programs. That's something that we look forward to doing during this budget process. Economic development programs within the FY22 budget, and subcommittees, and we're working with subcommittees to do that. The subcommittees, for the most part, are very active, and we have 8 subcommittees. I would venture to say that's probably more than all of the CRAs throughout the city. So we have quite a few, and staff have been meeting and participating and engaging and informing and bringing information back to them during that process of meeting. We also have been recently approached and having conversations with the Bloomberg Foundation, and they have taken an interest into East Tampa and looking at some of our properties and corridors to make suggestions on things that can be done moving forward.
Any comments, questions? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just wanted to express, I have concern about Bloomberg's involvement, and I object to them being involved in the CRA. If the mayor wants them involved in the city, that's fine, and we want to look at their reports, but I strongly object to them being involved in the CRA. Between you, Michelle, Nicole, and the other staff, we've got great expertise. You all know what needs to be done. We don't need to listen to somebody from out of state to tell us what to do. And I've been a consultant in other places, and I've hired consultants in from other places, but in this case, we don't. I think there's too much influence and too much control by one organization, and we're getting one philosophy and point of view. When you all know best practices, you've just come back from working in another place, so you know what needs to be done. We can read their reports, but we should not just take whatever they give us and move forward with it, because we know what's best in our community, and we've looked at best practices from around the world already. Thank you.
Is that true?
Councilman Gooch.
That scares me. We know what needs to be done. I don't care. We know what East Tampa's like. I just don't want them to come in and be a takeover and overrule the people and what the people are asking for, what they want. I don't know too much about the Bloomberg project, but I wouldn't want them to come into East Tampa and the CRA and just start telling you what we have done when we already know what some of the things we do need. So just kind of leery of that, and that's probably going to make people kind of leery when they hear Bloomberg. They're coming to take over, gentrification. Those are buzzwords, and that would be a big buzzword in the East Tampa CRA, Bloomberg coming into East Tampa doing a study. So we need to be cautious of that.
Understood. Okay. And the last slide, as it relates to the budgets and projects, these are proposed dates for our upcoming budget workshops. There may be 2 of them that will be adjusted. Just found out yesterday that the facility that we normally use, Reagan Park, will not be available. But we will make those dates and have those discussions with the CAC in the upcoming May meeting. Also, as it relates to the budget workshops that are tentatively going to be held, the plan is to go line by line, and we will listen to what the community wants. If it's more money in affordable housing and we want to allocate those dollars, we will discuss other pending things that CAC or the community may not be aware of, or requirements that we're bound by financially. And we will definitely have the budget to them and then present it to you at the appropriate time later this summer.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. McCray, thank you very much.
Not a problem. My pleasure. Thank you.
Given many of the comments throughout the past 2.5 hours, I'm going to ask to do my director's report first before the staff so that we can sort of wrap up and coalesce a lot of what you've been talking about, what you've been hearing, and sort of, again, bring this all together. I wasn't quite knowing that when I put my report together that it was going to be quite so. I kind of look like I've had some sort of tarot reader that I went to tell me what I should be talking about today. Before I go into the PowerPoint, on the Bloomberg, just within 10 minutes ago, it was just told to CRA and earlier in the morning that we need more staff, we need to get consultants, and we've got money in the budget to hire consultants to help tell us and advise us on economic development initiatives on redeveloping properties. So the two things, when I was offered assistance by Bloomberg, that I told them that I could see a big help with in East Tampa was that we did not get the grant for the Smart Institute. And there is still talk about moving forward with that. So we asked, that would be one thing that they can come bring their cluster and the manufacturing and help work with the EDC and USF on our behalf to work with as part of that coalition, as we're also trying to work on so many other issues. So that was one of the two items we asked for. The second one, which we had put money in the budget for, was land acquisition and to look at corridors and commercial corridors and look at what are opportunities for us to acquire properties that are vacant, dilapidated, either to knock a building down or to rehab it and turn something into it. And so I asked them, and this is not a 3-year contract, it would not be in East Tampa for 3 years, but they would come in, have workshops, listen to the community about our priorities, which corridors are priorities, and that they would look at what looked like prime opportunities, and they would come back for recommendations. Any recommendations they bring us, again, like any other consultant, but especially this, they're making recommendations, here are opportunities for you. If you don't believe in them, you don't believe that that's the direction we should go, then, as you said, we ignore it. But we have gotten free advice, and we have extra manpower with experience that can come in and make recommendations to us while we are focused in doing these other things, even while we're trying to pay money to get our own economic development, as we talked about, development initiative person. That was a big focus for Councilmember Goods and for the CAC. But this is something that can start on the ground right now. So again, we're not having them tell us what to do. We're looking for their ideas and options and what they see with their understanding and economic development background.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just don't think they should be involved at all. The concern of the community is that there's a political slant or agenda, and although they may be working with cities around the world, there are lots of consultants who are working with cities around the world, and you can find one that specializes in the kinds of things we want. But from the first time I met you, you spent a lot of time personally in East Tampa. You've studied it. You have a master's degree in it. We've got a whole staff of people who have studied it and worked in other cities. Nicole just came from a very successful case study in Lakeland. We have people that are regularly studying best practices, and we're not fully utilizing the capability of our own people. And what the gap is we need to listen to the community. The process that Mr. Cedro talked about this morning for West Tampa and these others, we need to listen to the community, look at the best practices that we all know what needs to be done, and then approve projects related to that. We're all, I think, geeks on this, and we're studying it all the time. My fear, by the way, you talk about corridors, it's not about how people interact with it, it's about real estate developments. And an example, Boston Community Capital, they build shop houses, and on the top is affordable housing, on the bottom is subsidized space for entrepreneurs. And sometimes they'll take an equity stake in the business that they're subsidizing them to rent. But that provides space for entrepreneurs to set up. There's no, other than maybe Open Cafe, there's no real coffee shop in the core of East Tampa. 15 years ago, the tech community here said if we only had Starbucks, we could build up our tech community, and that was a piece of it. Now we've got Buddy Brew and Blind Tiger and all kinds of others. We know that we need to promote entrepreneurship. We need the training programs. We need to suggest that people start businesses. We need places for them to do it. We need coffee shops for them to get the initial ideas. We need access to information and capital. That's what's going to radically transform the difference between downtown Tampa and downtown St. Pete. Why is it that still people come from downtown St. Pete to downtown Tampa and they say there are lots of great buildings but not enough activity? Because downtown St. Pete started with the software, with the organic growth of how people interact with spaces instead of buildings. Tampa just subsidized big buildings without looking at how people would interact with them. And we need to make sure that East Tampa is about listening to the people there, listening to the businesses, and helping to build quality of life in neighborhoods and building an environment where entrepreneurs can succeed. We don't need somebody coming in saying, Paris has a big boulevard, and so we need to build French-themed buildings along Hillsborough Avenue so that we'll provide a new kind of gateway to East Tampa.
I wasn't quite expecting a Paris flair from the recommendations, but if it is the pleasure of the board that I deny their free services, I will do that.
Councilman Goode.
I never take nothing away that's free. I mean, if it's free and they can lend a hand, but I just want to make sure that it's not a takeover per se. So if we still have control and they're helping for free, I don't have an issue with free. We need all the help we can get with ideas. I don't know it all. I know Mr. Carlson has way more experience because he's been all over the world and I haven't. So he's seen a lot of stuff that I've never ever seen and probably won't get to see in a lifetime. And I applaud his efforts because he knows his expertise in there and I don't. But I don't have an issue with free. I just want to make sure that we stay kind of in control of it, all right?
We can ignore absolutely everything that comes with free advice, and it doesn't cost us a dime. But again, if we're not interested in that, then we'll let them know right away, and we won't engage in more discussion. So,
Councilman,
I could attest with Mr. Goods is saying, Councilman Goods. If it's free, that is for me, no. But if it's free and they're going to be of value, and it's up to, there's safety valves. You're going to say yea or nay. We're going to say yea or nay. So if somebody wants to make a commitment to help what you have with your staff coming in, and I'm going to say no to it, I also say, hey, listen, what about the next one that I'm paying for? I also can say no to it. So it's the same whether you're free or I'm paying you. Your staff and yourself in the city and the CRA has the final decision on whether you like it or don't like it. And at the end of the day, we're the ones that are responsible for making the decision whether we approve or deny whatever's coming up. That's all I can say.
Anyone else? Ms. Van Loon.
So am I? Yes.
Do you need
I just want to make clear because
from the CRA board?
You asking us for a motion to deny using Bloomberg. Do you need us to have a motion in support of Bloomberg?
I don't think I need a motion to do it, but if you are directing me not to, I would like to know that's the pleasure of the board.
Is there any motions? Thank you, Ms. Van Loon. Please proceed.
Can I say one more thing?
Surely, go ahead, Councilman Carlson.
There's a lot of, you all probably have studied this as much as I have, but there's a lot of literature on addressing issues like this. And not one small piece that's not so new that I would encourage everybody to read, Google Competitive Advantage of the Inner City. It's about a 50-page report that talks about, it's now 25 years old, but it's about taking a different look at inner cities and how to develop them by building up quality of life and businesses instead of gentrification. And I think the community's crying to us every week, don't gentrify, help us. And there are a lot of ways to do that, but that's one 50-page report that you can read, and there's lots of other literature out there and experts on it, but that's a great start.
So to be clear, what we're asking is where do they recommend the CRA look at opportunities for us to strategically acquire property so that we can control the RFP and the type of redevelopment, whether it is for nonprofits or for incubators or whatever that may be. But we're looking for just advice to help us because we have 7 3/4 square miles and a lot of commercial corridors and a lot of dilapidated vacant buildings, problem
But the problem is, what's the plan? It's, if you were just looking at simple real estate, for what? What's the goal?
Well, that'll get to my next part of my report, and that also includes that talking to the community. That no one said this was happening in a vacuum, but thank you for the segue into. Can you bring up the PowerPoint for number 7? So, a couple months ago, Councilman Miranda at the CRA board meeting, listening to several of the comments, said, so what's different about East Tampa? What's different about what's happening in East Tampa? And I've been really thinking about what is different, how are we operating, what are we doing differently, what are the other CACs doing, and how are we not on the same page and pursuing the same paths? I've got this slide. Or not. There we go. So one of the things that when I listen to the CAC meetings and attend the CAC meetings, and you hear it in our public comments that come to you, our East Tampa activists and community members are participating. We have incredible passion, and this is not saying that the other CACs do not right now, but there is so much passion and so much energy and dedication and determination and empowerment. I want to get back to that empowerment in a few minutes. And caring. You hear the frustration, and I put that on purpose. The impatience, we need stuff to get done. And it is universal, and it is what we're hearing. It's been what we've been hearing, and it is behind a lot of the messaging, the complaints, and the impetus of what the East Tampa community members have been coming and talked to you about. Next slide.
Councilman Carlson.
I just find that, I'm not African American, but I find that slide very offensive. You know, one of the things people say about African American community is that they're too emotional. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think we ought to be careful with that kind of slide.
Understood. Next slide, please. So it came up again today, the number of chairs we've had. So in 4 years, we've had 3 chairs. Not only have we had 3 chairs in 4 years, so we had Ms. Goodley for 2 years, and immediately at the end of her 2 years, we had a new chair, and immediately a year later, we had a new chair. All 3 of those new chairs were elected chair on their first day as a CAC member. And I point that out because it is unprecedented. Again, what's different between what's happening in East Tampa and what has been happening, and how is that different than the other CACs? The reason this is important is because even the CAC members bring it up, and it's been talked about, is we are always starting over. It's very complicated in East Tampa. We've got the CAC, we've got the partnership, and so many of the other CACs, their chairs have been on the CAC. They have been a part of that or already have been the vice chair at the time they become to the CAC. So we now have chairs in our leadership that is trying very hard to understand all of this that is very complicated even for those of us who are in it on a regular basis. And so all 3 of those female chairs will tell you the one thing they had in common, and probably more, is the conversation that we as staff had with them early in their CAC tenures. And that is, as soon as they become chair, they are listening to everyone in the community, and they feel the weight of, again, the needs, so many needs in East Tampa, and they feel like they have to get it done, and they have to get it done very quickly, and they get overwhelmed, and they are scrambling and trying, and as you see, talking to whoever they can and going to whoever, and the hours that they're putting in, usually on top of their other jobs. And we have the same conversation. We don't want you to get burned out in 3 months. We want the chair to last, hopefully 2 years, maybe another 2 years. But it becomes so easy to take that weight and think it is your responsibility as chair to have to make something happen right away. And when you have 10 or 15 different needs of community, that's a lot that you're trying to accomplish. And again, all of this is coming to, on top of that, a year ago, 7 of the 13 CAC members came in and were brand new. This past October, the other remaining 6 came in. So out of our current 13 members, only 2 had been there previously. So again, the instability, I don't want to say instability, we do not have that continuity. We do not have that leadership of people in the room who are used to and understanding our processes. And so what that gets us when you have a lot of drive, is drive an acceptable word? Can I say drive? And for getting things done and for making a difference in your community, what we're having right now is a lot of people working very hard, all going in lots of different directions. And you're receiving emails from community members and 1 or 2 CAC members, and they are talking to the chief of staff, and they are going to other organizations, and they are all going off trying very hard to pursue an accomplishment, to pursue a program. What happens in all of that, and the end result for all of that, is that they have lost their sense of community and CAC and how we had been operating. And it came earlier. Ms. Tate, Chair Tate, asked you, what's the magic that West Tampa is doing? West Tampa is not doing anything magic. There is nothing different that West Tampa is doing from Ybor or Drew Park when you heard from Maritza. They are all following the same basic process. So when those CRA districts have success, what they are doing is the CAC work starts in the CAC. Those discussions start at the CAC. We have the decisions at the CAC. We have subcommittees that are created as a tool to assist the CACs. As we mentioned, not all CACs have subcommittees. And Drew Park, for example, started out with 2 subcommittees, and after those tasks were completed, they didn't need them anymore and they did not use them. Drew Park went through the designing of parks, the designing of Lois, the designing of the gateway monuments, and they did those discussions at their CAC. And we understand East Tampa and in West Tampa, there are so many programs that they're working on that it cannot always happen in a monthly CAC meeting, and we then again use our subcommittees as tools. It is the CAC that creates their subcommittees and directs that work. So all the work should start at the CAC. The CAC decides what programs they want to work on, what are our priorities, and they refer that work to the subcommittees who then bring it back. All of that is in partnership, and all of our other CRAs, with our CRA staff. That's what we're here for, is that we understand the processes and we can answer those questions. When the questions go to everybody else, there's also a time gap, and you get the rumors and you get the questions of, should I be going directly to a subcommittee? Should I be going to here? Who should I be talking to? If you start with CRA staff, we can answer that question right off the bat, and then there's no guessing, there's no rumors. And this past week, especially 48 hours, the rumors, again, about what's happening, what has been done, what's been approved, and it's because these discussions are not primarily focused anymore at the CAC level.
Mr. Citro.
Councilman Goose.
You know, when I first took office, I talked about the community being hungry. I talked about a wow. You know, Ed Johnson was there for a long time, from start. And it was a good time early starting out, and then, like I said, it dipped. When there's nothing to do, people, they're not interested. They see nothing going on. Nobody wants to help the black people. It's a matter of trust. The community has to come back to trust and believe that someone is going to help them and make programs go. Bring that wow. Make them not be so hungry. That's the problem. They have to believe, and they don't trust anymore. People tell us something, and then it doesn't happen. And then we get frustrated because you told us one thing, now someone else got something, but we didn't get it. Or it's a frustration. And a lot of people might not understand that, saying that, but I do. Being a black man, I understand that frustration. I understand being poor. I understand living in a community. It's difficult at times. I think we got to build the trust back again that things are going to happen. We're going to show them something is going to happen. And when you talk about, again, the CAC makeup, some of these people don't know to know. So you have these people that have gotten on subcommittees that are saying, this needs to happen. So again, when we talk about process, we got to understand process, because some of the things the subcommittees are saying, it's true, it needs to happen, because the CAC members may not know that needs to happen. So I think that's where your confusion. And then we bring in the partnership. So like I said, we've got to find a way now to bring this all into one and have a straight process so people know the rules going in, a video presentation. This is how the process works. So now they can channel their anger in the right place. They can channel their questions in the right place so we can get the results. But at the end of the day, where are the results? So even if we go through the process, people still feel the trust factor is not there because they see no end of the day results of a wow, and they're still hungry. So that's what we got to get to, making them trust and believe the wow.
And I agree 100%. And here is here is the end result. We have, the process has not been followed. The process has not been followed for months and months. The discussions have not been happening at the CAC for months and months. So what I am asking the CRA board and your assistance with to aid East Tampa, to help them get back on track. Because where we are hung up is if the discussions do not happen at the CAC, then we don't know what they want, they don't know what they want, the discussions are not happening. So, and I brought this up several months ago, and the discussions still have not happened. So we adopted a budget in FY22 with line items with millions of dollars. We tried to start to have that discussion at the CAC members at the CAC meeting as early as August, and then October, and then November, and the time runs out, the focus is in other places, and they have not, as a CAC, defined what it is they want the consultants to do, what they want the housing programs to do, what they want the business development. We have the money there. It isn't that staff is not running out and building programs. We need the CAC to sit and talk, and we have been happy to all along to help facilitate the questions. I even provided, here are, because I was asked, how do they know what questions to ask? And I wrote it out for them. And I said, here's the kind of things to help you get at what is it you're trying to accomplish, just basic parameters so we can take that. And we can help either with the subcommittee or we take it back and build it and come back to them. But the conversation has to start with the CAC. Our staff, no matter how great we are operating in the dark if all I have is housing, $2 million. Economic development, $500,000. I have one CAC member who is frustrated with the slow pace, but at the same time said to me just a few weeks ago, we need staff to show up and provide that leadership so that we can have these discussions. They're waiting for those discussions to happen at the CAC. So what I'm asking is that when you get the emails, when you get the calls of things not happening, has the discussion happened at the CAC? Help us bring the discussions back so that the CAC starts having these discussions to define what it is and talk about what it is. And I'm going to, with the owner occupied, when we did the tree trimming grant, very straightforward tree trimming grant. It was supposed to be about tree trimming. And That grant existed for a month and a half. It was put on hold because now it was a employment grant to help with the minority businesses in East Tampa to help get them. And that's a great goal. And we stopped and we addressed that. And then because of the size, there was the volume and the frustration from the volume and the processes or not understanding how it worked. And so we kept starting and stopping and starting and stopping with something as an easy $2,500 grant, $2,500 grant. Now you have an owner occupied. This time last year, Ms. Ransom was just starting in her housing subcommittee to get that defined and worked so that she could get that. And she herself did a great job, mostly by herself with our staff to bring that to fruition. And you asked that we not have a whole lot of restrictions and criteria and make it easy. But then we have to come up with a way to make a program that has a lot less restrictions, but still has the safeguards so that we don't end up on the paper like we saw a few months ago with another program, and that there are the safeguards, the people get it, but there are not, as was said earlier, abuse of money. That I don't have a neighbor saying, you just gave him a new roof and he makes X amount of dollars. He won the lottery and the city gave him a new roof. So all of those things to make sure we have a program. So if it takes us a couple more months to get a program that is well vetted and well thought out so that when we roll it out, we don't stop it 2 months later because we didn't think of something or that we ran into trouble. Not that 100% we can do that, but we want to make sure we've got a program that works, that when we do roll it out, it can roll out and go full force and we don't have to stop. We can just keep spending that money and getting the money out on the street.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Goode.
And I think that's all well and good. That's why I asked for the motion about having the CEC come here to get their frustrations out. So they can tell us what they want. They can tell us, and you're here with your staff to focus on those points of how to get it done. So I think that meeting's coming up on Tuesday?
Tuesday night, 5 o'clock.
So now we're gonna be here. They're gonna be here. They'll be able to tell us their frustration. They'll be able to tell us what they want, what they're looking to do. You'll be able to hear it. We'll be able to pinpoint these things down, and then we go at it line by line saying, how are we gonna accomplish owner-occupied rehab? How are we gonna accomplish whatever? How are we gonna accomplish that with the strategy to do it? And then we go and we get it done. And then people will know what the process is going forward. So now if you're saying that the subcommittees can't bring ideas to the CAC, so
what I'm saying is the subcommittee should not go just like here. The subcommittee should, when they're brainstorming and talking, go develop and spend 3 months to develop a program they did not talk to the CAC about. So the CAC is the one who is deciding what they want to do. They are the ones who develop the budget. They are the ones who are saying our priority is this, this, and this.
I have a different opinion on that, and I'll tell you my different opinion. If I'm on a subcommittee and our CAC don't know about issues going on, and I'm in the community and I'm the chair of that particular subcommittee, and I don't have an issue with the chairperson of that subcommittee submitting a brief or submitting something to the chair of the CAC saying this is an issue. Maybe
no, I agree 100%.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the subcommittees, just like all of you, you tell the CACs, we have the processes, this is your priority, affordable housing, business development. If they went off on left field, I had a council person say to me the other day, we don't know what's going on in the CACs. How do we know this is what the priority of the CAC is? The CAC also needs to know what their subcommittees are doing. So it is not that they can't work on anything, but is that the priority right now? So if they do all that and come back and the CAC says, well, right now I don't want to fund that because here's my other 3 priorities that are higher priority. So the communication has to be there, but it's just a matter of the workflows from the CAC.
And we'll talk about that on Tuesday so everybody's on the same page and hopefully we can get this boat really rolling on the river.
I was not planning to talk very much on Tuesday, so you know, this is between your discussion with them. We'll respond as staff to any questions. But again, it came up today. What does West Tampa do that's special? What does E-Board do that's special? They talk to each other at their CAC meetings. That's what they do. It's that simple.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just, Ms. Van Loan, for you, for the public, for my colleagues, I want everybody to know that if I seem frustrated, it's not frustration at you, and please don't take it that way, and if you have, I apologize for that. My frustration is just with the process and where we are, and I know you've spent a lot of time in and around East Tampa and also on the CRAs, and I have confidence that you will help us, guide us through this, but as you just described, there are a lot of challenges in it, and I think one last thing I would say is what we lack in this city overall, and we haven't had for a long time in the city, is a vision of where we want to go. And we can start with these CRAs, we can start with the neighborhood commercial districts, but what happens is that we do these strategic action plans, and all they are is lists of projects that an engineering firm or somebody listed. There's no vision of how it all ties together. And if we had, 3 years ago we voted to create a strategic plan for the CRA board, and we don't have that. So there's no consensus of vision of where we want to go. Consensus maybe on things like affordable housing, but that's a piece or a component of it. What we need in each of these districts is a vision, and I hope what we'll come away with on Tuesday is not just maybe a better process, but also a vision for so we can picture in our heads what East Tampa will look like. And it's not defined by pretty new buildings coming up, but how are the people going to interact with the space? Thank you.
The last thing, because this came up and quite shocked. So the last thing about process is money and how it gets spent. The money goes through, any decisions go through the CAC. They come to you. If it's not a line item and it's not something that everybody knows what it's going. So I just want to make it very clear that Mr. McCray and no one else has approved $3.5 million for any project. Mm-hmm. The second thing that was another problem with that, again, where I talk about that energy to get something done and the excitement to go do that and get something done, is that the process is you come talk to CRA staff, because here's what we do. We talk to whoever is interested, and we know if the CRA can spend the money on it. Not just because of 163, but what's in that CRA's community redevelopment plan. Because like you saw, several of your CRAs can do cultural assets, but Tampa Heights Riverfront couldn't. Their CAC didn't know that. That's our staff's job to know that. And that's what we do, and we respond to those questions all the time. Then, even if we can legally spend it, is there money in the current budget? How can we make that happen? And if not, the next year. That, again, is our job prior to it getting to the CAC, and then we can recommend to them and let them know the process and the next step to get your request made is to come to the CAC, make the request. They may refer it to a subcommittee, just like the Skills Center did. It went to the subcommittee and it came back to the CAC for a vote. So they referred it and it came back and the process went through that. So with our staff, that's the role that we play. And with the one issue on the $3.5 million, there was suddenly a discussion that had to go to this subcommittee and that subcommittee. First, it needs to start with us, because we need to talk to our attorney, because that's a gray line that may not be something that we can fund in East Tampa. And once we knew about it, and after I reviewed the community redevelopment plan, I've already let Morris know, I don't think we can fund it. And if we can, it definitely needs interpretation, because it's not an obvious thing that we can. So if you send it off to your subcommittees, you've got them running out there researching something that we're going to come back and say, I'm sorry, we can't fund that. So again, we all have our roles in this, but I wanted to make it very clear that Mr. McCray has not approved. None of us have approved, and that has not gone that way. And the reason I want to emphasize that, it was brought up this morning that you were asked to make sure we don't abuse the CRA funds. Again, we can't spend funds, and we don't spend funds that have not been approved through the CAC, through all of you, And I have to have resos, I have to have motions, I have to, so we cannot abuse those funds. We can only spend them as they have been approved through the process.
One last comment, then we'll move on. Councilwoman Hurtag, excuse me.
It sounds, I mean, everything. It sounds, and I'm coming into this obviously just in the last week, but it sounds there's a lot of miscommunication. Have you done any type of like a PowerPoint presentation to go to them and say, these are the processes, let's talk this out before we even...
August, October, November, yes. And even when we do, the CAC training that we did, one of the things we point out, as Councilman Goods can tell you, is we don't expect you to memorize and know everything that we just told you. The same line I talked to you about. We just want you to know you heard something about this, you remember that we talked about it, you remember that we brought it up, and that you know that either you can come back and ask, or there's a resource in what we gave you in the handouts. And all of those PowerPoints have been emailed and given and shared. But right now, there's a lot of efforts going in a lot of parallel directions.
If I may, a suggestion that I use a lot in the work I do is that people are often afraid to tell you what they don't know. May I suggest that you go to I know it's more work, but until we get this settled, go to every member individually afterward.
Mr. McCray has been meeting one-on-one with any CAC members before the meetings so that there can be these discussions so it's monthly, but yes.
But even after the meetings, is what I'm saying. People hear things and okay. I just wanted to throw that out there, even before and after, so that people can ask questions in a comfortable space that's not out in the public.
Of course, and that's why our office is there and in the community. We're always there. It's not just before and after the meetings. That staff is always accessible.
But again, with a community that is not experienced, there is a true fear of going and asking. So if you come and ask, it's a different approach, just to consider.
I appreciate that, yes. We have to know who to approach and ask, who needs our help, though. So it has to be a two-way communication. I'm not trying to get out of our responsibility. We want to engage. We cannot be effective without that dialogue. We cannot help move the community forward. We cannot be effective because we are, by your structure, set up to be a partnership between the staff and the CAC, who are the representatives of 30,000 people plus in East Tampa. We want the dialogue. We want every opportunity for the dialogue where, again, my request is for the help to bridge that gap, to keep getting the dialogue going.
Any other final comments or questions or statements? If not, I will make mine. Thank you. I don't know how many have been on CAC boards, CAC committees. I thank people like Ms. Orr back there, Ms. Thrower, and Corinne, who were with the EBOR CAC, and the experience I've had for 4 or 5 years and understood the process. I'm going to use a sporting analogy. A coach comes in and teaches the teammates how to play that sport. And in turn, those teammates teach each other to score the home runs, to score the touchdown, to score the goals. We need to have consistent coaches that have played the game, that have taught other people how to play the game and how to score touchdowns, home runs, goals. Thank you very much, Ms. Van Loon. Members, board members, it's 12:15 now. We good? Okay. It's 12:15 now. 12:30 we'll be finished, or we'll be going to lunch. Is that all right with everyone?
Wait a minute, what do we have left on the agenda here of the staff reports?
We got a whole bunch of stuff. We've still got staff reports from CRAs. We also have other things that we need to do to approve on.
May I make a suggestion that could we postpone those staff reports from the CRAs to maybe Tuesday on that special call, or?
That's a special call. There should be no business being done that day, Mr. Massey?
Yeah, the special call meeting is for a meeting between this board and the East Tampa CAC to discuss issues specific to the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Area only. So we really can't talk about anything other than that. That's the sole purpose of that meeting. Wanted to briefly, since it came up, you know, what we're proposing is, obviously you all will have your seats up here. We will reserve the front part of the chambers for the members of the CAC. We've arranged for a fairly general agenda and for them to come up and address you, and then staff to answer questions. There's also a point in the agenda where we will allow any issues that haven't been addressed on the agenda, if the CAC members would like to address you on other matters, to come up and address you on other matters that are on the agenda as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Councilman Goods.
Can we forego the monthly reports and be able to just quickly, I think within 10 minutes, we can do these approvals and we'll be done?
I'll second that. That was gonna be my suggestion.
Ms. Van Loan, are you comfortable with that?
I am, yeah, there may be a couple that you have.
Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And is there any no's on that? Motion passes.
Okay, so item 10, this
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Hurtak.
Can we still receive, I know we do have written information, but anything they may have presented to just come on?
Basically, for the staff report, they just give you highlights from that.
Okay.
And if you have questions, so what we'll do, if you have any questions from the information, and especially for Councilwoman Hurtak, we'll also be, again, we didn't want to inundate you in your first week, but as when all the other CRA board members started, we'll set up one-on-ones with you, with the various CRA managers, and also for the short term, if there's any questions about any specific.
That's all I needed, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Item 10?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Item 10 is similar to what you approved in December. The Center for Economic Development has a list of 7 properties they would like to help with cleanup, and they requested 9, but they went over last time, so I just rounded up to 10. The CAC approved 10, and that is being held at the end of April.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any against? Motion passes.
Number 11 is potentially controversial. So this is a standalone grant request. This is the same like you did for the STRAS, like you do for the CDC of Tampa for the $190,000 for infrastructure for affordable housing, Tampa Housing Authority, all of those standalone grants that you do. We refer them as standalone grants because we don't do them very often. They're more circumstantial. And to write a program or a grant guide for that, because they're all over the place, and again, we don't do very many of these. And the process is the same for everything else. You make the request to the CAC, they can, or at their choice, refer it to a subcommittee, the CAC votes on it, and then it comes here. With this item, I'm just gonna talk about process and steps. They came and talked at the subcommittee, it came to the CAC voted 10-1 to approve it. I am going to, for lack of better terms, say there appears to be buyer's remorse. And you have had requests. So the one request you got from Ms. Noreen Copeland-Miller, she was the one nay vote out of the 11 votes at the CAC, and the chair has expressed concerns. So there's nothing from a staff side that is pushing or anything else. As you saw, you approved $25 million for the STRAS with a budget that was 1 PowerPoint and 5 lines of a budget. We've had detailed construction budgets for $150,000. So this has been based on whether a CAC or the CRA board feels that this is an item that is in the best interest of the community, and then what does your investment get you?
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Goods.
All right, there is a lot of controversy on this item. I'm for the skills center, but I don't know what we're getting for that. I think that's the concern, just no different than with the STRAS, with these items. What return do we get on our investment with this type of money helping? So I think that's what's going on right now, and I think the board wants to figure out, what are we getting, what are we doing? So I will reserve until we get some answers on that, to defer it to your next meeting, so they can know what's really going on and what they're getting for their money.
Mr. Massey.
One thing I would also mention relative to the STRAS funding, we did have a very large funding agreement that went into a lot of detail about what the funds were going to be used for. So if you wanted to defer this until we had an agreement, maybe that spelled out that level of detail, that maybe gave you and the community additional assurances.
Except for the fact that we're not going to put together an extensive funding agreement if there does not appear to be some sort of, I'll use the word, inclination. So if it is not going to go through, we're not going to, it was like, again, like the STRAS or with the Tampa Museum of Art, or even you saw for over a couple of meetings, just $150,000 around the Amalie Arena. So if your intention,
I don't have that feeling. I just think they want to know what I'm hearing, what they're getting for their buck. That's what I'm hearing.
And if you, any approval would still be contingent upon a funding agreement. So no dollars would change hands, even whether that's 3 months from now, without a funding agreement.
Mr. Chair, I'd like motion to defer until the next meeting, so they meet with the CAC.
Second.
I'll get back. We have a motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Any discussion?
If I may.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll vote to, well, let me ask you if I may, this funding sought, it's nothing time limited. They need it for some specific project that's coming up. If we defer it for 30 days, it's going to prejudice them in any way?
No.
To the best of your knowledge, no? Okay.
No, they can, this can, like I said, of course, they would like to have their own certainty of knowing, because they have to go out and get others. But again, for $500,000, anybody will wait until that decision comes, or another 30 days.
I'll vote for the motion if there has been some inquiries, et cetera. But for me, this is what CRA should be doing. I went, like other folks here, to the Skills Center. I think they do remarkable work, and I'd love to see them get these funds. So I'll vote for the motion, but unless if there's some huge surprise, I fully plan on enthusiastically voting for this item whenever it returns to us next time. So.
Can I ask that your motion, again, just so there's clarity of process and everybody knows what to expect, can we refer it back to the CAC for the CAC to engage in a discussion with the Skills Center, have their come with their questions so that they can be answered, so the Skills Center knows what to expect and your CAC members know what to expect?
Can we state the motion?
Thank you.
State the motion that this be referred back to the CEC along with a meeting with the Skills Center to talk about the project and any other outcomes or measures that we'll incorporate with our CAC.
I have a motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any further discussion? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
And Citro?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, now we're going to be on a roll. Number 13 is a CAC appointment to the Tampa Heights Riverfront of Raj Patel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any discussion?
Aye.
Roll call vote, please.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
And Citro?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Number 14 is a CAC appointment of Sean Barrioiden to the Downtown CAC.
So moved.
Second. Motion moved by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Maniscalco. Let's do all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm going to hold 15 to the end. There's going to be discussion on it. 16, the Community Redevelopment Agency TIF. This is just your year-end financial report after they've closed all the books.
Motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Items 17, 18 are just divided because one is EBOR 1 and EBOR 2. This is their scope of work for their contract for their clean team that now also combines their ambassadors. You've had the scope of work for a couple of weeks now, and this is to fund it, and then they'll go out for RFP in a couple of weeks.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 19 is also Channel District doing the same thing. This will be a yearly contract to help clean up with all the construction. There's so much painting, there's so much landscaping over the years, and so they are looking to also put an RFP for an annual basis of a maintenance contract.
So moved.
Second. Motion moved by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries.
I just want to say, this is we're going to talk about number 15 in a minute, but this is an example of something that every neighborhood in the city would love to have, and other neighborhoods feel that it's unfair that certain parts of the city that don't have slum and blight are getting special treatment and other neighborhoods are not. Thank you. But I voted for it anyway.
Number 20 is the downtown CRA has our oldest community redevelopment plan at 1983 and 1988. They do not have a strategic plan. We are requesting the $300,000 that we expect it to come in a lot less, but this is the first time. Thank you. But I just want to make it clear that we're asking to update the community redevelopment plan. Thank you.
Motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Councilman.
Just quickly, I voted for that, but two things. Number one is we asked for all the plans to be updated 3 years ago, I think. I'm surprised it took so long. Number two is we really need to look at sunsetting this or putting a cap on it because the neighborhoods that subsidize these areas that don't have slum and blight are going to come before us and start complaining more and more as they see these things continue. So I hope that I won't ask for a vote today, but I hope that as we're going through the strategic action plan, that the CAC and the community will put in what they want, but then we can look at the end of that we can either sunset or put a cap on it. Thank you.
Was there any no's on that motion approved?
So I am going to defer. Councilman Carlson, would you prefer I take 15 on the SAP or 21 on the Parks and West Tampa first? Okay, so we'll go to 21. The West Tampa CAC, since last summer, has been working to try and expedite the improvements to Ray Park and Celsinas Park. They're requesting this reprogramming. $950,000 would go to a design construct for Celsinas Park. The Parks Department has provided wonderful conceptual drawings and taken feedback from the community, and now they would like to move forward with hiring a designer to actually design that. Same concept for Ray Park. It's a little bit more due to size, and also the CAC went one step further and asked that there be an assessment of the community building also to see what upgrades and other programming. Thank you.
Motion is made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed?
No. Can I just make a comment real fast?
Then let's have a roll call vote on that.
No.
Carlson?
No.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Yes. Miranda?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried. Carlson voted no.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just think this is an example of the lack of having a vision. That Celsinas Park in particular is a really key property in that area, and I've done some research on it in the past, and I think we should look at maintaining and building parks, but we also ought to look at the best use of a piece of property like this. And I think we need to have a vision for how the property, our communities are going to interact with each other instead of just replacing things that are already there. There used to be, I think it was a pharmacy, Celsinas Pharmacy, and in the 70s they were desperate to try to figure out how to redevelop the area, so they took like $20,000 from the federal government to build a park. But it doesn't make sense to have a park right in that location. We need parks in that area, but not in that particular location.
We can certainly take your comments back, and Jesus can make sure that the CAC knows that was your comment. Last item, back to number 15, this is the Channel District CRA's Strategic Action Plan, just like we had Drew Park several months ago. So this would be a simple motion for adoption or not, and discussion. Thank you.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah,
Councilman Carlson.
yeah, same thing on this one as the downtown one. We talked about putting a cap and a year or so ago, and the community said, we want a strategic action plan update. I think you all met with folks like I did and listened to them. They said they've included everything they wanted in here, and this only goes up for like another 3 to 5 years, but the CRA still has about 10 years. There are three different schools of thought. One is not to touch the CRA. The other is to put a cap on it after these items. And the third one is to leave like 10 or 20% in the CRA for the duration, but take the rest of it and move it somewhere else. And although the CRA board cannot control where the money goes, if it's not in there, the city council can, because we control the budget. And so we could set up a park fund or something. But more and more we're going to hear from other neighborhoods that are subsidizing in places where there is slum and blight. People understand, but in downtown Channel District, they're asking, why are our parks falling apart? Why don't we have sidewalks? Why do we have potholes? We need to figure out where the budget comes from, and they don't want us to raise taxes. And last thing I'll say is there are at least 3 proposals I've heard of for new CRA districts, and what you should think of is that really means increasing taxes for the rest of the city, because if we drain, especially for police and fire, if we drain resources in certain areas where we set up new CRAs or TIFs, that means that the rest of the city is subsidizing it, and there's no way to pay for the other things. So we're going to, a vote for a new CRA is really voting for an increase in taxes for everybody. So I would ask everybody to please look at that carefully. Thank you.
I've also said that in the past, that CRAs are really not equal to others, because they get the benefit of more money's coming into them. Others are paying for it indirectly. So I agree with that, and I'm not no problem with that at all.
Okay. Information and reports. Councilman Carlson.
No, sir, thank you.
Councilman Good. Councilwoman Hurtak. Councilman Maniscalco.
I'd just like to wish my father a very happy 63rd birthday.
Councilman Vieira.
None. I did want to just publicly acknowledge Teresa Piercoy, whom many of us knew, was a marvelous attorney, just a great woman. She was a colleague and a friend, and she passed on, I believe it was on Monday, and I know we all send our best to her husband Travis and their children, and just a tremendous loss. She was such a good, decent woman. So just God bless her. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Well, your father has one thing in common with my good friend Pete Rose. He's also 81 years old today.
All right,
I'll be
Pete.
talking to him this afternoon.
I got a great picture of Pete Rose I'm going to show you over at Tampa Stadium.
Okay.
Now that you mentioned it.
What? Yeah. One last thing.
Yes, if you'll indulge me 1 second. Shalisha Jackson, our office support specialist, who has been with us over 10 years, is taking a very large promotion and will be working in our solid waste department over on the administration side. We're very excited for her. She starts Monday. So please don't write to Shalisha. Go ahead and just give us a little. We're already looking and evaluating applicants. They had already recently done a recruitment, and I can just piggyback off of that. And so we're going through that now, and I hope to have it filled in a very short period of time. But I do want to acknowledge everything that she has done and been a part of this department and watched us through so much, especially in the core CRAs, and being a central part of our department. We will forever be in her debt, and I just want to publicly wish her well and thank her.
Agreed. I look forward to her emails giving me information on where I need to be at times. Move to receive and file. There's a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? We'll see you all at 5:01.
Stella.